From Harry Hurley Way and the world's playground to the broadcast pioneers of Philadelphia Hall of Fame, you're about to find out why Harry Hurley has been named to the Talkers Magazine list of the 100 most important talk show hosts in the nation. Live from the studios of Town Square Media in Northfield, it's Hurley in the Morning on WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio app.
Thank you. Welcome to the program. It is 7 minutes past the hour, and thank you so much for waking up early in the morning. We begin with something that's becoming an epidemic. I mean, you have to really think about this. If you go away for a few days even, and then if it's longer than a few days, you can get really, really, really jammed up. And this is this whole illegal squatters issue. I mean, in Biden's America, this is what's going on. Let me give you an example in Seattle. A squatter has lived in someone else's home for more than 2 years. Could you imagine? I mean, I don't even want to tell you what goes through my mind about what you would think about doing if this ever happened to you. And of course, you then would be the criminal, and they're the good guys. There's actually a group, and they get taxpayer money. And what they do is at the last second, this goes all through a court process, and then you're really close to being able to put somebody out that shouldn't be in to begin with. And then this group pays not all, but some of the back rent. So in this guy's case, the squatter was, and look, this guy doesn't want the squatter in there. So this whole issue of paying rent is also garbage. But let me just, because you have to be able to verbalize it to have a conversation, I hate to say it this way, but because it's not true, but the squatter, because this group paid 1 year of the 2 years of back rent, this sets the clock all the way back. And this homeowner has to start the eviction process all over again. The owner has endured more than $30,000 in legal fees, and it's about to bankrupt him because the rent that he gets sporadically doesn't even nearly keep up with his own mortgage payment. Now, also you have to add into that, in many of these examples, this isn't rich people that, oh, it's a real aggravation and a nuisance, but no big deal. These are people that they can't afford to live because they're paying their mortgage. Someone else is living in their home. They have to pay to live somewhere else. They're paying legal fees to try to get these people out of their home. And this is not just Seattle. This is happening in New York, and this is happening elsewhere. This is Biden's America, and it is awful. My God, November 5th can't come quick enough. I mean, these people, meaning the Bidens and their ilk, they lie about everything. Joe Biden was doing an interview, and it was friendly media, and the person said, to Joe Biden, your husband is losing in every battleground state. And she says, no, he isn't. He's winning. And the guy tried to 6 out of 7. No. This is what being Biden means. That you have some inherent right to lie about everything. If 7 polls come out and you're not winning one of them, you get to say the opposite. It's bizarro world. You get to say that you are winning. Then she sort of had to modify it a little bit, and she said, as the American people see that this is a race between two people, I know that Joe is going to win. Yeah, well, what does that have to do with the price of vanilla chocolate chip ice cream in Delaware? What does that have to do with the fundamental question posed, which is that your husband trails in every battleground state. Now understand something. I don't care who you are, what craziness goes through your head, what you try to ignore. If Joe Biden loses the 7 battleground states, and who are they? What are they? Michigan, Nevada, Arizona, North Carolina, et al. 7 of them. If he loses them all, he will not be the president. Then what's Joe Biden going to say? We won. But we're not election deniers. Joe won. I knew he would win. You don't have to look at anything else, the other 43 states. If Biden loses 6 or 7 out of 7, he can't be president. You can't win. There just aren't enough states left that you could win in, not enough electoral votes to get to 270. You can't win. So, look, it's 7 months out, but it's a relevant question. And again, we don't know what's going to happen in the future. I mean, you've got a former president that they are just dragging through every unimaginable thing. And understand, nothing's ever good enough. President Trump paid the $175 million. They rejected it. It's very hyper-technical. It was returned for correction, quote unquote. They want documents because they want to keep trying to emasculate President Trump on one hand, and on the other hand, they want to just get as much documentation as they can. For those holding, and there's a bunch, we're taking phone calls for the whole 7 o'clock hour, so I don't want you to hold for an extended period of time. I have a lot that I want to share, so call back if you can. And then, boom, you're very compliant. Much appreciated. So, this is just typical. And the media always forensically examining every inch of President Trump. They don't go after Biden lies and all of this stuff. Nothing. It's all fine. Biden got away with saying this week, or Easter Sunday, it may have been Easter Monday that he said it, that he didn't do what he did. The proclamation on Transgender Visibility Day. And look, if that's what you want to do, just own it. That's fine. I don't agree with doing that on Easter, the most high holy day of the year for Christians in America. I don't agree with what he did and how he did it, the vim and vigor and focus. But then you're going to deny it? You turn it on the speaker, Johnson, and say he's uninformed? Quote, I didn't do it? Of course you did it. Just own it. So this guy blatantly lies about very provable things. And you just don't see anything come of it. Now, we see it, and the American people know what's going on, even though they're being lied to. And remember, there are acts of omission, and they're just as significant as the acts of commission. If something bad happens and they don't report it, and people don't find out about it, and it's a very bad thing for the media to do. And remember, I shared with you yesterday, they're going after the man who's the CEO of the company that put up the $175 million bond. Now, keep in mind, they didn't do that as charity. They have cash securities, and I use that term broadly. It's probably a combination of cash and stocks, whatever. But the cause for the rejection of, and it's not gonna matter It's just a way that they can just always keep hassling President Trump. Keep him having to file things and appear and, knock him off the campaign trail, like the trial next week that will probably last 6 weeks, putting President Trump in a courtroom all morning, noon, and night, every day except Wednesday for 6 weeks. This is what they're doing. Like we have never witnessed in all of American history, the weaponization of our various institutions and legal systems. And it's just awful. So the cause for the rejection, according to the New York County Supreme Court website, is because the requisite paperwork lacked a current financial statement. Now, they could have easily just said, hey, we have everything you sent. We need a financial statement. No, they got to get their headlines that the bond is bounced because they're so incredibly dishonest. And remember, owner, I just tell you this kind of stuff in advance. Remember owner Don Hankey, Hankey. So he is a supporter of President Trump. But they're going after him. And you know who they are. The usual suspects. He's under some kind of suspicion investigation because they don't want anyone to support Trump. If you support him, you're going to have a problem. They want you to know that. This is what happens. They say stuff like, Hankey was exuberant in his praise of Trump after the bond was secured, calling himself a, quote, supporter. But Hankey was less clear about whether Trump used bonds as collateral for the final amount. So they just want to keep hassling. Not that there shouldn't be. They're letting accused murderers go free. Sometimes with no bond, no bail, and sometimes 25, 50, 75,000. This is what they do, and this is how they do it. It's 19 minutes past the hour. Let's get the first break in. We'll be back. Much more important content straight ahead on the Hurley in the Morning program. Hope your week is going well. I know there's been a lot of rain. It's been pretty nasty. And I think more rain today and possibly even more rain tomorrow. Joe Kelly reported that it will be a dry weekend. If it rains today and it rains tomorrow, I'm trying to remember the last time that I can remember rain for 5 straight days. We don't get that very often. We'll get a few days here and there, but not 5 straight days. Back in a few. Don't go away.
People all over the Jersey Shore have found the easiest way to stay connected to South Jersey's talk station. It's the WPG Talk Radio app. Read free, unlimited South Jersey news. Listen to your favorite talk shows. Send us breaking news tips and more. The WPG Talk Radio app is powered by Smokers Haven. You'll find the finest selection of cigars at any of their 5 locations. Stop in and let them help you find the perfect cigar to pair with your life. SmokersHavenNJ.com.
Fox News commentary.
The illegal alien invaders who rushed Texas National Guardsmen have been marked for release by a judge. I'm Tommy Lahren. More next.
Are you over 30 and putting off life insurance? It's time to get a quick quote from Ethos. A better, easier way to get term life insurance. All online with no medical exam. Answer a few health questions and you could be approved for up to $2 million. Isn't it worth 10 minutes to help protect your family's financial security? Ethos. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at checkethos.com. That's checkethos.com.
About a week ago, a horde of illegals bum-rushed the Texas National Guardsmen situated to protect and defend the border. It was a hostile invasion, to say the least. But if you thought those invaders were going to pay the price, well, you thought wrong. Because those illegals who were initially arrested for that incident have been marked for release. The magistrate judge Humberto Acosta ordered the release of 39 of the 200, and his reasoning? That the El Paso DA's office hadn't scheduled individual detention hearings for each defendant. So in that case, the judge decided it would be better to just release them on the honor system. The honor system? They destroyed the border barrier and trampled law enforcement, and the judge thinks they should be given the benefit of the doubt? We are living in the upside down, and our country is being made a mockery of thanks to Joe. I'm Tommy Lahren, and you can watch my show Tommy Lahren is Fearless at Outkick.com.
Starting your day the right way with Hurley in the Morning. WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio app. You're listening to Hurley in the Morning.
Mays Landing.
I'm from Mullica Township.
Listen at home or in the office on your smart speaker. Just say, play WPG.
EHT.
Ocean City.
Hurley in the Morning on South Jersey's talk station. WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Thank you. Welcome back. It is 26 minutes past the hour. Ran a little bit long in the first segment. We'll catch up. Not a problem. And Wide Open Forum coming up in the 7 o'clock hour. I can't believe it's already Thursday. This week is flown by. John Zarek at 8. And I'm very excited to report, and I did so yesterday on the digital platform, that boxing returns. I'm such a fan for so many reasons. I mean, before I was a casino executive, I just have always loved boxing. I have to admit, I think it's lost a lot of its luster because forever, it seemed, generations, there were always really big, great names. I mean, think about it. Regardless of weight class, do you remember when you had Roberto Duran, Sugar Ray Leonard, Tommy Hitman Hearns, Wilfredo Benitez? God, just off the top of my head, that's all in the lighter weights. Then at the same time, you always had great heavyweights. Just there was always the next one. And I think about this, and I could be wrong, but right after Mike Tyson, now you had Lennox Lewis, but I'm thinking like, Joe Louis and Muhammad Ali and Floyd Patterson, and you go on and on and on. Joe Frazier and so many, George Foreman, and there was Larry Holmes, the Easton Assassin. There was always the next one. By the way, for those holding on, we're not taking calls until 7 o'clock. It's amazing. I ask for no calls, and I get more calls than programs begging for calls. I promise we're taking your phone calls for the entire 7 o'clock hour. I promise. So I'm excited about boxing returning. I really am. And it's incredible that at age 58, Mike Tyson is in the news right now. And I heard, it's a shame. I hear people, and they should know better, watching this live coverage and someone saying, how do you watch the Tyson fight? I don't know. Is it going to be on pay-per-view? I mean, come on, do your homework. The fight is going to be on Netflix, which I'm very happy that I'm a subscriber. And if I wasn't, I'd get it just because of the Tyson fight, Tyson and Paul's. But Tyson at 58, you might not remember this, but I think it was either 2021, Evander Holyfield fought. I think he was 53. Don't quote me. I didn't intend to do this. I didn't do any show prep on that. But either 51 years old or 53 years old. And what happened was, and I'm trying to remember, who did he fight? It wasn't good. And he got knocked out in the first round, Holyfield. But he took the fight on less than a couple of weeks' notice. Oscar De La Hoya was supposed to fight, and I believe he was injured or something. So Holyfield came out of retirement and took the fight and got knocked out in the first round. But not since Foreman fought at a somewhat advanced age, and he was really just, I think, upper 40s. Tyson is 58, and I'm going to tell you, I've been watching some of his training, and I can't believe the speed. I don't know if the endurance is going to be there or if it's even going to be required. I think he's going to win. Some people think he's not going to win. But his speed and the power, the sound of his punches, unbelievable. So what I'm saying is I'm excited that for the first time in 7 years, boxing is coming back to the Tropicana Atlantic City. And we will have at 9:05 this morning, right after John Zarek, Larry Goldberg, who loves Atlantic City, does all kinds of fight cards in New York City. He is the chief executive officer of Boxing Insider Promotions. And he has a connection to Atlantic City, direct connection. And we're going to have a great conversation in the 9 o'clock hour. And here's something I learned, and I can only tell you this. Mike Gill, because he does the play-by-play when we do the Atlantic High Holy Spirit game, he called his name out a lot more than I did. But a very famous, the hero wrote me, Marvelous Marvin Hagler. How could I leave that out? I'll never forget. I still have a copy of the tape on VHS, and I think we have it on DVD as well. And that is Sugar Ray Leonard Hagler, which I don't know why, but just like I knew that Ali was going to beat Foreman, everybody knew that Foreman was going to just make a mess after what he had done to Frazier. This is why I always say, and I didn't create coin the phrase, but styles make the fights. How do you explain Frazier, Ali, Frazier, and the wars that they had 3 times, nearly dying in the ring? They're the main reason why boxing is now 12 rounds and not 15, because there was a lot of studying that the big damage that happens to fighters happens in rounds 13, 14, 15. And not to say that it doesn't happen within 12, but and of course in the old days, it just never ended until somebody got knocked out. I mean, it hundreds of rounds. It was insane. But yeah, I knew that Ali was going to beat Foreman. I don't know why. I just knew it, even though Foreman demolished Frazier. Just styles make the fights. There was a reason for that. It was the style. Frazier was smaller. Ali was bigger. Ali was able to hang in there with Foreman and did the rope-a-dope and tired him out and then knocked him out. And Frazier didn't have a plan. It's like the Tyson plan. Everybody's got a plan with Tyson until he punches you in the face. Then you don't have any plan then. You cry to mommy and you curl up in the corner in a fetal position, sucking your thumb, crying mommy. But I don't know why I know this. Tyson's going to win this fight against Pauls. I just know it. Conventional wisdom would tell you that at age 58, this kind of is a little bit like, I think it was Balboa. I'm trying to think. The Rocky movie, when Rocky comes back, I don't think they say what age he is, but, looking like 50-ish or 50-something. And is fighting, he's not Antonio Tarver in the movie, but that's who it was. And Rocky did a great job. Lost a split decision, but did a great job. I think that Tyson is going to win. And they're not scoring the fight, by the way. The only way there'll be a winner in the fight is by either knockout or TKO. I have another sports item that I want to share with you, and I don't know if you've heard about this. I'm excited about it. And I'll tell you why in just a few minutes. Don't go away.
This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
Thank you, Harry Hurley, with 3 stories that you can follow on the WPG Talk Radio 95.5 app. They appear to be conflicts of interest. There's a whole lot of it going on in Atlantic City these days. Check out my article, Boxing at Tropicana, Atlantic City for the first time in 7 years. It was a lot of fun writing that. I'll tell you about the Holy Spirit grad that's on the fight card, and he's undefeated. And he's beaten a Golden Gloves champ. I mean, he's terrific. And the prosecutor is focusing on alleged child abuse in Atlantic City.
Good morning with your South Jersey weather forecast. I'm Joe Kelly. We might be a little teased this morning with a little bit of sunshine amongst the clouds. But for this afternoon, April reality hits as we'll see some more scattered showers across South Jersey. Today's high about 55. Tonight, some clearing, a low 39. Tomorrow, not too bad. Partly sunny with a high of 51. Actually, for the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, both days look dry with temperatures in the 50s. That's your South Jersey weather. I'm Joe.
You're waking up with Hurley in the morning on South Jersey's talk station, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. Starting your day the right way with Hurley in the morning.
Biden is going to drive this country into the ground.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
I want to find that guy and just have a conversation with him and just ask him, could you say it for me one time? Biden is going to drive this country into the ground. I just want to hear him say it. It's not too much to ask, I don't think. The boxing, because a lot of people were writing me during the break, the boxing card, and again, we're going to cover this in great detail coming up a few hours from now with the CEO of Boxing Insider Promotions, Larry Goldberg. It's Saturday, May 11th at the Tropicana. Larry describes the upcoming fight card as stacked and packed. Now, I will tell you one of the people that are participating, and it's very, very cool. Justin Figueroa. Justin Figueroa, some would say Figueroa, and pronounce the A at the end. I have a broadcasting awareness of these things. I choose not to say it. I choose to say Justin Figueroa. 8-0, 6 knockouts. He's a junior middleweight, a 2017 graduate of Holy Spirit High School. He starred in football, that I can tell you, because I watched him play his entire career on Thanksgiving Day in particular. And he also excelled in wrestling. He previously defeated, during his amateur boxing days, he defeated the 2022 National Golden Gloves champion, Nasheed Smith. Now, when you beat a National Golden Gloves champion, you are serious stuff. He last fought on March 30th, so obviously an active fighter because he's coming back just a short while later, really just, not even 6 weeks later. He had a 6-round decision victory over Christian Aguirre in San Antonio, Texas, in his last fight on March 30th. Figueroa is a former Atlantic City Beach Patrol lifeguard, and he's become known for dancing the worm right in the ring. He goes across the ring doing the worm after he wins a fight. And if you go to the digital platform, we have I can't say we have all the other fighters, but we have a number of them that will be on the card. And again, with Larry Goldberg, we'll cover all that coming up in the 9 o'clock hour. I said I want to talk about another sports item, and I do. And I'm excited about it. I think I'm excited about it because it's my nature. It's my personality. Again, I think you could file it under, I do not like inherent unfairness. And this has been my whole life. I've been that way. When I was a Cub reporter at age 19 with my own byline. I didn't realize, that's a pretty big deal. At the time, it just seemed normal. But I was 19 years old. And I had a byline. And I'll tell you what I discovered. And it's pretty neat when you're given the opportunity at any age, but that was at a very young age, to cover sports in our areas. And pretty much, occasionally you would get assigned a game that you had to go to. But I was pretty much able to pick the game that I would want to go to and watch it. And I kept a scorecard during the game. I used one of those pens, and you still see them, white on the top, blue on the bottom, and then I forget if it was 4 different color ink. And then I would just use separate ink. And I copied that off of a reporter that I had a lot of respect for by the name of Howard Gottlieb. And he took a liking to me. So did Alan Rosenzweig. And Alan and I kept a lifelong friendship after that. Greg Cole and I, ditto, great photographer. These are people that I met at the then Atlantic City Press, not the press of Atlantic City. It was a great team. When I wrote for the press, we worked under Mike Shepard, sports editor. He still writes a column today, which is amazing. And great guy. And we had a team of Lawrence Topman, I wanted to say Pete Brophy, but I crossed paths with Pete Brophy. I just don't remember as much when I worked there as after I left. And, of course, Pete became the executive editor later in his career. Pete did news. Pete did sports. We had, I'm just saying the sports people, Alan Rosenzweig, of course, Harry Hoffman. I had the honor of Harry would call in. In those days, the fax machine was just coming of age, and it was a really weird thing. It made a huge winding sound and took a long time, and it was a sloppy read. Crazy. It was all dark, but then you could see the print, sort of. It was a mess. And Harry Hoffman didn't use any of that stuff anyhow. So he would call in no matter where he was with the Philadelphia Phillies score and his column. He would read it, and I would type it. And we got to the point where I did it every time. I became like his steady person that he did that for. And I was at the press when Harry Hoffman died. He died covering, for some reason, I want to say it was the Chicago Cubs, but I don't, it would be the Phillies, of course, but he was definitely outside of Philly at the time because he never missed a deadline. So we knew something happened. And so Harry Hoffman was there. So who'd I have? Howard Gottlieb, who really was great to me. Took me under his wing, protected me, and, just cultivated. He was terrific. Howard, Larry Topman, Alan Rosenzweig. Oh, yeah. I said Pete Brophy, but I actually meant Pete Wickham. God, I haven't said that name in so long. And I'm trying to think if I'm leaving it. Oh, Dave Bontempo. He came later, but he was there when I was there. Real good guy. And speaking of boxing, oh, what a great boxing analyst he became. Terrific. I don't know if he still does it, but did a lot of television and announcing. Really became fantastic at it. Wrote about boxing. Terrific. So I'm getting to a point here. And the point is this. God, I have another break I have to get in. I saw that the girls' sports were not getting covered the way the boys' sports were being covered. And I thought that it was really unfair. So I kind of went on a crusade of covering the Atlantic City girls basketball team. In those days, Pam Elliott, Benita Spence, people like that. Valeria Jones. I covered Pleasantville girls, Faye Gerald. She was terrific. And the Middle Township girls were very, very good. And we gave them their due. They weren't getting it. Well, I have a great story for you when we come back that's similar to that.
Starting your day the right way with Hurley in the morning.
We need to do what's best for this country.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5. WPG Talk Radio 95.5. You're waking up with Hurley in the morning.
I listen every morning.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
You are very smart then. I appreciate that. 54 minutes past the hour. So here's the lady's story that I'm so excited about. First of all, and I know why, but this is still very cool. Record numbers watched. It was more than 15 million watched Caitlin Clark from Iowa, Angel Reese from LSU. It was the rematch of last year's national championship game that could have gone either way. Very, very close. This game also was pretty close. Iowa seemed to have a lead for much of the game, but it was always within reach. And so it was the reverse. It's a shame that they met earlier. I mean, they met in the Elite Eight, didn't even meet in the Final Four, let alone in the final game. I think Iowa's going to win it. I'm pulling for Connecticut. I love the Connecticut program, and some of the Connecticut people used to be up in this lounge that I used to visit when Tom Cantone was at Foxwoods, and I remember there was this beautiful. It's still got to be there, unless somebody took it. The entire Connecticut women's team of that particular era. Still Gino Auriemma as the coach, still winning national championships, then and many years later. And it was the whole team in this beautiful, large, framed print signed by, I think it was a lithograph even, but it was at least a big photograph signed by every player and the coaching staff. Women's basketball, there are parts of the country where it's huge and is bigger than the men. But I'll tell you what I love, and I'm not saying this to be cute or anything. I just love this. And it takes me all the way back to when we weren't covering the high school girls basketball the way that we were covering the boys. And I want to say in a small way, I helped change that, because I started covering a lot of the girls' basketball. It was a different game. They passed more. They executed better. The game wasn't up at the rim. Very few. I'm trying to remember. I think there was like one girl, Becky Stewart from Atlantic City High School, could dunk, I think. There were a couple of girls that could dunk, but it was never about dunking the ball. The girls' basketball was about execution, and they were very well coached. You had some of the great coaches coaching girls basketball, and I loved it. And I loved giving them the publicity that they should have been getting. Well, the women's NCAA is getting record numbers, trouncing the men's NCAA tournament. And in fact, as of yesterday or the day before, I can't remember which, but I looked into this, the women's NCAA Final Four tickets are selling for twice the price of the men's. The average ticket price right now, at least, it could have changed in 24 or 48 hours, but this information is pretty current. And I'm sure it's true. I looked it up on purpose. Meant to mention it yesterday. The women's average ticket right now is over $2,000. The men's average ticket is a little over $1,000. The women are outdrawing the men, and it's a higher ticket price, which I think is outstanding. All right, I'm telling you, you think I said a lot this hour. I didn't get to about 25 things. Yesterday, we did much more in 1 hour than we did today, but I enjoyed both. And I'm even going to enjoy what we're about to do even more. And that's you calling me right now. Come on. You were calling me all this hour when I didn't take your calls. Call me now at 609-407-1450 with whatever is important on your mind. That's what Open Forum on the Hurley in the Morning program is. It's not that I want you to talk about what I want to talk about. I want to talk about and listen to what you want to talk about. 609-407-1450. Call me now. Let's do this. Come on. Let's do it now.
WPGG Atlantic City, WENJ HD3 Millville, a Town Square media station. Everything you need to know in 6 minutes starts now. From Harry Hurley Way in the world's playground to the broadcast pioneers of Philadelphia Hall of Fame, you're about to find out why Harry Hurley has been named to the Talkers Magazine list of the 100 most important talk show hosts in the nation. Live from the studios of Town Square Media in Northfield, it's Hurley in the Morning on WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio app.
Hey, thank you. Welcome back. 6 minutes past the hour. Have you noticed that the relatives of these judges and, everybody else that's somewhat or quasi involved in the process, they're all allowed to trash Trump in interviews and on TV? There's no gag orders of them. The federal judge right now is accused of judicial misconduct because he's been talking on TV interviews, CNN. This is before jury selection and things. How come that's not tampering and all these things, that they accuse Trump of, and they don't get any type of discipline or gag order? And I'm speaking about Judge Reggie Walton, who I just literally can't stand. I don't know how. I got to tell you that the judiciary in our country has turned into this level of garbage, human garbage. It is so dangerous. I wish people would love their country more than they hate Trump. And again, more do, because the majority is with Trump. But to hate someone so much that you are willing to not only put up with, but celebrate this unfairness that's going on. I guess you can't see the forest through the trees to understand that Trump will be gone. And if this is what's left in place, it is going to be completely unlivable, this country. You just go after your political opponents and weaponize everything. It is terrible. And the fact that it is just such a one-way street is just awful. 609-407-1450. By the way, the next time Jill Biden gets told that your husband is trailing in every battleground poll, and then she says, no, he's not, you got to go back and say, yes, he is. Sorry, you don't like it. But, and look, that doesn't mean that tomorrow and next week and in 6 months that it will be the same, but that is true right now. Even Hillary Clinton said you can have your own opinion, but you're not entitled to your own facts. But this is what we're up against right now. When they're winning, they win, shut up, you lose, go away. And when they're losing, they say they're winning. I mean, these Bidens, they do it with such ease. This was CBS morning show. And the person said, your husband's losing in every battleground state. No, he's not. He's winning. And the guy doesn't say anything. Excuse me, Madam First Lady, can we light the graphic up? We'll light the graphic up right now, and you tell me where what you're saying has any resemblance of truth when it is Trump 47-44 in Pennsylvania, 48-45 in Michigan, 47-42 in Arizona, 44-43 Georgia, 48-44 Nevada, 49-43 without Bobby Kennedy in North Carolina. He's got to be in there because he's qualified for the ballot. So that, I guarantee you, is another 2 to 4 points right there. And Wisconsin is a tie, although every other poll has Trump leading, and it's close. Wisconsin is very close. So how do you get to say, when someone says your husband's losing in every battleground state, how do you get to say, no, he's not, he's winning? In what America is that okay? And you got to push back and say, look, I didn't say that to be rude. It's just a matter of fact. Here is the Wall Street Journal polling data right here, right now. So instead, they're running stories that Biden has hired all new polling people. What's that going to change the numbers? You're going to get new polling people to what? Give you polls you like? Welcome to Hurley in the Morning. You're on the air.
Mr. Hurley, good morning.
Morning.
I've been trying to figure out why and how the laws are just being said, forget about them. And I read an article last year. The law books have been put away. They've been shelved. We're now dealing with rules, RULES. And at this rate, the government is being Bidenized. I don't care where it's at, how they're doing it, but they're not doing it based off of law.
Well, there's no question. Or, I'm not even going to split hairs with you. I know what you mean by this. What they're doing is they're twisting the law. So they will tell you they are using law, because if you listen to them, they're always saying the Constitution, a state law, federal law. So I don't want to get into the semantics of you're using the word rule and we're not using laws anymore. They say that they are upholding the rule of law, that they are protecting and preserving the Constitution. But what they're doing actually is assaulting it. And it is awful to watch. For example, the Alvin Bragg charges in New York. He has there should have been a system that would allow for that to just simply go away, because he has no authority to bring a trial and criminal charges for a federal issue with the position that he holds. So they don't care. He did what's called bootstrap. He took a federal charge, he bootstrapped it, faked it out into a state charge, and away they go. So I'm only going to slightly split hairs with you. They are saying that they are prosecuting under the law, but they're not. They're really not.
They're rewriting. They're changing them because they're doing whatever the hell they want to do.
Well, they're taking laws that are on the books, say RICO statutes, and then they are twisting them to fit, like in Georgia. No one's ever been charged with that. The Stormy Daniels thing is absolutely preposterous. The FEC, the DOJ, every federal authority that could possibly jam Trump up tried. There's nothing there. It makes the John Edwards case, it's not even a pimple on the ass of John Edwards' case. And that was a terrible case that John Edwards ran the table. But John Edwards ran the table in a state that's not corrupt. What's going to be very tough for Trump is this judge is terrible. He's awful. And it's in New York City. That's going to be very, very bad. I mean, I've said from the beginning, I won't hold out that maybe somebody will sneak on that jury that will hold out. And I see Trump getting either a hung jury or being convicted. I don't see any possibility that he will be acquitted in New York City. And I hope I have my faith restored and that I'm wrong about that. So their goal is to keep him busy for the next 6 weeks. He will be in that New York City courtroom. He's ordered to be there. I was told a defendant didn't have to be at a trial if they didn't want to be. Now, I think it's a good idea to be there because you don't want to disrespect the jury thinking, hey, you don't care anything about this. You're not even here. It's easier to find you guilty if you're not there. But they'll find him guilty anyhow if they get the right 12 people on there. And you can imagine that voir dire selection is going to be absolutely brutal, what they're going to do to try to stack and pack that. So they, at the minimum, even if he's acquitted, in the heart of a campaign, that you can't, any day you waste, you can't replace. And you have less than 6 3/4 months to win this thing. 6 weeks will be every single day in Judge Merchan's courtroom every day but Wednesday. So that's what they're trying to accomplish. These trials are very important to the Democrats. They want to cost him money, and they want, even more importantly, they want to cost him time.
In another world, Mr. Biden would Article 25 himself.
Oh, he's a criminal president. There's no doubt about it. He's the worst. He's the worst abuser that we've ever seen in office. He's weaponized everything you possibly can do. And then he gets coverage that he's so compassionate and he's so good, he's so decent. Give me a break. He's a bum. Got to run. Have a great day. When we come back, you will join the program, and then you can be next at 609-407-1450. This is.
You're waking up with Hurley in the morning.
Egg Harbor Township, Ocean City, Goshen, Cape May.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio app.
Turn up your radio. Here's the Sean Hannity Morning Minute.
Whoopi Goldberg. Well, people have bad memories. Why would they ask such a stupid question? Are you better off than you were 4 years ago? No, that would be the relevant question. It's a rare presidential election where you actually have two guys that both have records that you could examine side by side. One of the biggest challenges for the Republicans and Donald Trump in this election cycle is to make this election about issues. The mob, the media, and Democrats are going to want to focus on any and everything other than issues because they don't have a record to run on. No wonder Whoopi Goldberg doesn't like the question. Are you better off than you were 4 years ago? That is the relevant question.
Check out the Sean Hannity radio show later today, right here.
All right, winter's officially left the building, so why not spring forward and freshen up your home with new premium window treatments from our friends at Blinds.com. Now, Blinds.com, they created a better way to shop for stylish blinds and shades and shutters and even motorized options. Everything is 100% online. Now, you can do the measure and install yourself, or just let the pros at Blinds.com handle it. Now, you can have multiple window coverings installed for just one low cost. And if you're not sure what's best for maybe an odd-shaped window or to block the sun on your patio, well, Blinds.com, they have design professionals that will help you for free. And they'll send free samples directly to you. Plus, with Blinds.com, you always get transparent pricing on their website. Never any hidden fees, no hassle, no multiple trips to a store. Blinds.com has free shipping and their 100% satisfaction guarantee. Just shop right now at Blinds.com. Save up to 45%. Get up to 45% off for a limited time when you go to Blinds.com. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Hurley in the morning. WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio app. Starting your day the right way with Hurley in the morning.
Honesty and transparency, it's not afraid to get down and dirty and really just tell me the truth.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Thank you. Welcome back. 22 minutes past the hour. 609-407-1450. Phone lines are open. Hope you'll call in now. We're going to take your calls until the top of the hour. Then we have for the second half of the program, John Zarek at 8 and Larry Goldberg, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Boxing Insider Promotions. And for the first time in 7 years, there will be live boxing at Tropicana Hotel and Casino in Atlantic City, including a Holy Spirit grad who has amassed an 8-0 record. I want to say it's not in front of me right now, but I want to say as a junior middleweight, Justin Figueroa, including one of his wins as an amateur. This is now him at the professional level, but he defeated the 2022 National Golden Gloves junior middleweight champion. I mean, he's the real deal. And I'll tell you what, I saw him on the football field, a real good athlete. So pretty neat. It's going to be on, again, we'll have all the details coming up later, but I believe it's Saturday, May 11th, the fight card at Tropicana. Welcome to Hurley in the Morning. You are on the air.
Good morning, Harry. It's a great day in the city of Brigantine. How are you?
Very well. Thank you for asking.
You know, this Judge Merchan, I don't know if you've talked about this. I know you've talked about the daughter situation with Adam Schiff and all the stuff that she is involved with. Did you know that he actually married Jack Smith and his wife?
Wonderful. I didn't know that, so I don't say it with a contraction. I did not know that until you just said it. Doesn't surprise me, though. They're all together. The whole gallery.
Yes, he like Johnny Carson. I did not know that.
Yes, exactly.
So he actually performed the wedding ceremony of Jack Smith and his wife, and of course, you know Jack Smith's wife produces films for Michelle Obama for Netflix.
Right, and as we always say on this program, there are no coincidences. I wonder if I could see photos of that wedding. Was Jack Smith dressed like a Klingon? In that,
yes, he wore his Klingon tuxedo.
Okay, good.
And instead of saying what God has brought together, let no man put us under, Marchand said, "Live long and prosper."
Too good.
Oh my.
Hey, listen, there's a lot of life lessons anytime you quote Star Trek.
Sure. Yeah. My favorite one, which applies right now and what we've seen over the past several years, is the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one.
That is correct, Mr. Spock.
And we are turning, and this is what I wanted to talk about. So we're turning this entire country upside down to appease less than 0.5% of the total population, the LGBTQIA plus to infinity crowd. And what took place at the White House and this National Day of trans visibility to do this on the holiest day of the Christian calendar. You know, Harry, we started to get into this yesterday about how you could say whatever you want to say about Joe Biden. He's known for years as the dumbest person in the Senate, the dumbest person in Washington, all of that, but totally unaccomplished, a liar, all of that, a plagiarist. But you never got the sense that Joe Biden hated the country, or that he wanted to destroy the country, or that he hated the military, or the cops, or Israel. But we know all of those things are true of Barack Hussein Obama. And Barack Obama spent 8 years trashing Christians and trashing Christianity, you know, the whole gun, gods, and religion. He used the National Prayer Breakfast to compare the Crusades, when the Christians were merely retaliating on what the Muslims had done to them. He compared the Christians' behavior of 1,000 years ago during the Crusades to what modern-day ISIS is doing, saying that, you know, lest we get on our high horse, let's remember that many things were done in the name of Christ. So, with a middle name of Hussein, which is not a Christian name, it is a Muslim name. So the things that we saw, this National Day of transvisibility, and you know this whole movement, and I want to direct you, and I hope you can get this woman as a guest. Her name is C. Erin Friday. She's an attorney in California. And I listened to a podcast with this woman, very well spoken. She's an attorney in California. She actually quit her job when her daughter came to her and told her that she was a boy. And how she came to find out that the school was using male pronouns. They were doing all these things unbeknownst to the mother. She takes the daughter to the doctor. The doctor won't let her see the medical records of her own daughter, because the daughter's over 12 years old.
What? That is like a you're over 12. I mean, isn't that a silly? I'm not coming at you on that. Isn't that a silly comment?
Well, so what this attorney extrapolates from all of this, and she said after she quit her job, all she did was read. She does nothing but read during every waking hour to learn as much about what's going on as possible. And what's happening is she's learning that the medical community, pediatricians, and the schools, the counselors, they're all in on this whole trans thing. As soon as a kid comes to them that has some issues, they right away, push them into this trans thing, and they go along with it, and then of course they start using the pronouns and the whole thing. And I forget the exact statistic. I think it's like 95% of these kids who go through this wind up going through this phase and then accepting the bodies that they were born into. This is a social contagion. It's a fad. Kids are getting into this because they think it's cool. And the adults who are supposed to protect the kids from this are pushing them into it. And the medical community, it's just amazing. But she's drafted a piece of legislation that she's trying to get on the ballot in California to stop all of this nonsense, to get the boys out of girls' sports, all of this. And the legislation, there's a website. It's called Protect Kids CA, as in California. ProtectKidsCA.com. And again, the woman's name is C, the letter C, period, Erin, like your daughter's name, Erin, right?
Lauren.
Oh, I'm sorry, Lauren.
That's okay.
So her name is C. Erin Friday.
Got it.
And if you can get her as a guest, either here locally or maybe even better on the national show, so the whole country can hear it. Just extremely articulate and well-spoken, well-versed on this issue.
Andy, I appreciate the referral, and I'll absolutely look into it. And the thing that's very important about this is we have to solve this issue of schools believing that they can get away with major – I mean, there are school districts that they take children to get abortions, and their parents don't even know it. I mean, we can't have this. When you think about the little picayune things that parents get held to account for with their children in schools, and yet these enormous giant leaps in liberties that they take in ways that they do not communicate with parents. There are examples where they tell the students, don't tell your parents these things that we're doing. I mean, this is crooked, messed up stuff. We've got to defeat this. It's bad. It is bad for our kids. It's bad for the country. And they got to be stopped. And it shows you these radicals, they want control so bad that look at the lengths they go to.
Well, Harry, this whole thing with your rights, when you think of COVID, and we've talked about this before, during COVID, you were told that your tenants didn't have to pay their rent to you, which means you have no property rights, okay? We were told that your kids are going to get vaccinated with or without your permission. You have no choice. So in other words, you have no parental rights. And then we were told you will get vaccinated. You have no choice. You will lose your job. You will get fired. You'll be thrown out of the military. So you now have no rights to your own person. So if you have no rights over your own body, if you have no parental rights, and if you have no property rights, that's all of it. What else is there? Okay? So that's China, where you have no rights over your own body, over your own kids, over your property. And this thing, you talk about the whole abortion thing. You keep voting for Biden, and you're going to wind up with a country like China where they tell you how many kids you're allowed to have. You don't have to worry about aborting your kids because the government will force you to do it.
For anybody that thinks this is a bridge too far, I'm telling you, if Biden wins a second term, the civil liberties that they will take from the American people will be breathtaking, Andy. I've got to go. Quick closing comment. Go.
Well, a friend of mine said to me yesterday that we can solve this whole trans thing, like the boys and the girls sports, by just letting them have their own teams, let trans people play against each other. And I said to my friend, but there's the problem. You've resolved the problem, and Democrats don't want the problem resolved. They want to keep it as an issue so that they can beat Republicans over the head with it and say they're transphobes and use that issue to run against them in elections.
Here's the thing, though. I really believe this. You could be right, but I also believe that there are some, and I think they're wrong, that want this to be that there is no separate category, that you don't solve the problem by saying there's a transgender Olympics, there's transgender bathrooms. They want someone, if it's Sonny and Cher's daughter Chastity, who's now Chaz, they want him to be a him, not a transgender. They want him to be recognized as a man. And then vice versa, when someone transitions from a man to a woman. I just watched a video an hour or two ago of a transgender female that absolutely demolished a female basketball player. I think it was at the high school level. Could be college, but I think it was high school. We can't have this. We cannot have this. You cannot have biological males competing in physical contact sports with girls and with women. We cannot have it. And we better get to the point, and it's going to take the Supreme Court at some point, and then, of course, it will get very divisive like the abortion issue. Democrats are running on that, in battleground states. They are efforting to put abortion questions of any kind on the ballot. They know they cannot win on any issue that is of importance to the American people, so they have to win on these wedge-type issues. It's insidious, and they are sick. But that's what we're going to get. Get ready for it, I'm telling you. 35 minutes past the hour. We'll be right back.
This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
And this is Harry Hurley. 3 stories that you can follow on the WPG Talk Radio 95.5 app. Conflicts of interest. There seems to be a lot of this going on with lawyers in Atlantic City appearing in courtrooms. Check out my article, see what you think. Boxing at Tropicana, Atlantic City for the first time in 7 years. We'll be talking about it in the 9 o'clock hour. And the prosecutor of Atlantic County and the prosecutor's office on focus about alleged.
Good morning. With your South Jersey weather, I'm Joe Kelly. We're going to see a little sun mixed amongst the clouds this morning, but then this afternoon, April showers reality hits with some scattered rain. High temperature about 55. Overnight tonight across South Jersey, some clearing, a low 39. Tomorrow looks pretty good, partly sunny with a high of 51. And as of right now, the outlook for Saturday and Sunday looks like dry weather both days with temperatures in the 50s. That's your South Jersey weather forecast. I'm Joe Kelly.
Starting your day the right way with Hurley in the morning on South Jersey's talk station, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. Hurley in the morning.
It's breaking news that I can trust.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Thank you. It's 20 minutes before the top of the hour. If you want to jump in, this is the time because this is rare. It's open, wide open on our phone lines. First one in, first one up. 609-407-1450, an open phone line. This is something that I didn't get a chance to read all of it, but a friend of mine sent me an item about the president of Unite Here Local 54, Donna DiCaprio, who was Bob McDevitt's longtime, right hand, if you will, right arm. She has responded to the Division of Gaming Enforcement's gaming revenue results. What you have to take a look at, because where the Atlantic City numbers are grossly distorted, is thank God for the digital. Because without that, I don't even want to think about what the Atlantic City jurisdiction numbers would be. But the conclusion, I haven't read it, but from my glancing of it, The conclusion is that the visitor trends are troubling, and of course, it's something that we've been talking about on this program, and it really makes the work that Visit Atlantic City does, which I have to say, and I have a soft spot for them because they got screwed by Chris Christie. Chris Christie was one of the most selfish politicians to ever come along. The things that he did to position himself for future elective office, higher office, was his dream. It's never going to happen. He couldn't win anything right now. He's a disaster in the Republican Party. The things that he did to hurt public safety and others, where they have not had a cost of living increase in more than 15 years. It's a disaster. You have his BS crap where he was going to do away with all the authorities in the state of New Jersey. Do you know what he did? He stuck it to one. He stuck it to then Atlantic City Convention and Visitors Authority, which ironically, out of the entire state, was the least political, because it wasn't political at all. Literally was not political. I mean, I guess in name only you have to say that it was. But they just did their job. It wasn't like these other things that you see, and you see this pension padding stuff that would go on. This guy would be a local mayor. Pete Elko is a perfect example. Local public official. And look, he's beloved. I thought he was very lousy at the Visit Atlantic City, or I guess at the time it was Atlantic City Convention and Visitors Authority. I didn't think he was anything to write home about in the position that he held. But what it enabled was you could take all the years at the local level, you do 3 years in a full-time position, and bam, you get a pension for life based on whatever, 60%, depending on how many years you have, 60 or so percent of as though you did that job for 25 years. I never liked any of that. If you did the job for 20 or 25 years and you earn a pension, different conversation. The pension padding stuff, where they took care of their friends and gave them 3 years and then they just, retired at that point, that should have never been allowed. That was abusive and wrong. But Chris Christie, actually the only authority that he meddled with was the one that was running the best. That's the only one. He didn't do any of the others. So, you look at what's happening in Atlantic City, and the reason I raise Visit Atlantic City, because they do a great job. And let me tell you something. They're booking now. They're booking way into the future. Keeping the Atlantic City jurisdiction viable. Because Atlantic City always has a comeback. Look, the government right now in Atlantic City, it's a hot mess. It is terrible. You've got a dysfunctional executive branch. You have a dysfunctional legislative branch, because by one vote, it was very, very close in the last election. It would have been very helpful. But by one vote, the dysfunctional executive branch has control of the legislative branch. So there's no relief anywhere. It's a disaster. But the beauty of Atlantic City, and I've written about it and I've spoken about it for almost 32 years here with you, and it is this. Atlantic City always has another comeback story in her. You just can't write the obituary. You just can't do it, because Atlantic City always has a way of coming back. Unfortunately, it involves usually hitting a very bad peak, the peak and valleys, hitting a very bad valley, whether it's corruption, whatever the case might be. The 1964 Democratic Convention, which was abject failure. It was a disaster. Atlantic City put the media in substandard rooms, gave them paper towels. I mean, just ridiculous, and got crushed. And then you had casino gaming. And then there was Pennsylvania that took the convenience gambler, probably 70-some% of the convenience gambler. Then you had further encroachment all around the country and the surrounding jurisdictions. And then you had the Hail Mary. It's probably the one thing, if you said to me, name one thing that Chris Christie did that was good for the state, because he left with like a 13% approval rating. He was a disaster. But the one good thing he did, and he got trashed for it, and he just scored big time, and that was taking the issue of sports betting to the United States Supreme Court. He had the Democrats trashing him, Democrat media trashing him. You're wasting this money and doing that. I never thought it was a waste. Look, it was a long shot for the Supreme Court to grant what they call cert for short, certiorari, long word. To grant that was, I thought, miraculous. And it would be the jewel in the crown for Chris Christie. Because imagine Atlantic City without the sports betting and without the online gaming. So don't confuse when you hear like $2 billion. And remember, the digital gaming, the casinos do not make what you think. The numbers are much bigger than the reality of all of that. So what they call heads in beds, conventions, and bringing business when it otherwise wouldn't be there, the work of the Atlantic City Convention, well, I was going to call them the Atlantic City Convention and Visitors Authority, the work of Visit Atlantic City cannot be overstated how important it is. Because if you think the trends, and they are bad now, imagine if all those events, conventions, and room nights were not being generated. I mean, the town would be dead. So the premise, and my friend, what they sent to me is right on. And that's the next part of the story, the reinvention of Atlantic City. And that is, I remember when I worked for Merv Griffin, and there was a downturn then, and there were a lot of systemic problems. And we did a complete, John Belisle was the architect of it, great guy. Ultimately became president of one of the Trump properties, really great guy, a good friend. He came up with the Bet on Merv campaign, and it was terrific. Music, the hats, the whole deal, Bet on Merv. And it was wonderful. And the fierce loyalty that, for example, and I'm very fond, obviously, of the property for a lot of reasons, friendship. I worked there myself for over 2 years, loved it. The loyalty factor, never, ever, we've talked about this forever, never, ever sell short the power of brand loyalty. When you treat customers the right way, they will choose you over the bricks and mortar of another property every time. Every time. But that has to be the big focus, is getting people to come back to Atlantic City physically, not just gaming electronically, physically in the bricks and mortar properties, and generating those room nights and generating the ancillary non-casino revenue and the casino revenue that happens because of that. Much more right after this.
Sean Hannity.
You know now that there are 8 states planning a complete ban on the sale of gas-powered cars entirely? Why would these states be buying into this? They want to now tell you what car to drive, what stove to own, what air conditioners you might be able to have. That's how much they want to impact everybody's life.
Sean Hannity on South Jersey's talk station, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. Listen at home or in the office on your smart speaker. Just say, play WPG. You're waking up with Hurley in the morning.
Ocean City.
UHD. Brigantine.
Mays Landing.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Hey, thank you. Welcome back. We haven't talked much about this. I think I've mentioned it a couple of times, but haven't done proper justice about it. This total solar eclipse that will be taking place this Monday, April 8th. It's so crazy that actually you have prisoners, I meant to mention this yesterday, that are suing because they want to be able to observe it. I don't know how that's going to go. You know, I never heard that when you break the law and you're convicted and you're incarcerated that you have a right to see the total eclipse of the sun. Maybe you get to listen to the song, but this should be interesting. And do follow everything that you're told about something like this. Oh, that'd be nice. Yeah. Just got something very helpful from the executive program director, Chris Coleman. I'm working on something. Thank you, Chris. Chris showed me a tree that is down on Route 40 between the marina and McDonald's, so you know right where that is. Pretty recognizable, memorable spot. Big, mature tree. And it completely, I'm trying to see, let me just make this a little bit bigger. Yeah. You can get by on the one side, but it completely covers, and it's only two lanes, one each way. It completely covers the one. So the only way out of that would be alternating lane until such time that they can cut that canopy down. So thank you, Chris, and be guided accordingly if you're in that area, Route 40 between the marina and McDonald's. There is a big fallen tree, and it's going to make a mess of drive time until that is dealt with. I'll tell you what happened to me one morning, and it was a number of years ago. And boy, I'll tell you, it was harrowing. You know what time I leave, so it is dark as night because it is nighttime. And all of a sudden in front of me, now I never speed down Schoolhouse Road, but I mean, I'm going, a good clip. I mean, I'm driving like I should. And that means probably at least like 25 miles an hour or something. But in front of me, something didn't look right. And thank God I hit the brakes and barely stopped in time. There was a gigantic oak tree that completely blocked the road. I was able to just back up and do a little detour situation. It messed me up a little bit, but I almost crashed right into it because it just looked like the road. And all of a sudden, the road was gone. And the big tree was there. And with weather like this, two things happen, at least, that bring something like this on. What you're experiencing right now in Mays Landing, and a number of years ago, what I experienced with the oak tree falling on Schoolhouse Road in Egg Harbor Township. And it is this: when you get that saturation where it just rains, and we've had a lot of rain, so you've got that going on, and then you get the wind on top of that. This is what you get. I don't know if you remember during some of the crazy weather that we've had, whether the derechos or what are some of the other ones called, like bomb cyclones. I mean, we've learned things we never knew. I never knew the term derecho until this a few years ago, and bomb cyclone and microbursts and all these different things. They were ripping trees up, and it was bringing like concrete up and big sections of soil and the grass where it would sometimes be 20 feet high. The earth, the dirt. You don't call it dirt. Margie won't like it if you call it dirt, soil. Wild stuff. So, yeah, it is amazing the damage that can be caused. So be guided accordingly in that stretch there, Mays Landing near the McDonald's, Route 40. Here's one for you. Some of the stuff we didn't get to. And, John, I apologize. I just see that you're there, and there's less than a minute left. It's impossible to bring you on. Not only are you a great friend, you're a great friend of the program. I owe you more time next time. I can't do it today. I've got John Zarek coming up in a moment, and we have a guest that's scheduled at 9 o'clock, Larry Goldberg. But we'll talk offline, and happy to bring you on in the very near future. So let me know your availability. We can do it 7 o'clock hour tomorrow if you want. Let me know, John. But here's one I want to squeeze in, though. 50,000 voters in the Wisconsin Democratic primary cast their vote for what's called uninstructed. Now, remember, all these states have different rules. They have, you're voting for no one, none of the above. There's all different ways that you can do it. They voted for no one instead of Biden.
WPGG Atlantic City, WENJ HD3 Millville, a Town Square media station. Everything you need to know in 6 minutes starts now.
Kelly.
From Harry Hurley Way in the world's playground to the broadcast pioneers of Philadelphia Hall of Fame, you're about to find out why Harry Hurley has been named to the Talkers Magazine list of the 100 most important talk show hosts in the nation. Live from the studios of Town Square Media in Northfield, it's Hurley in the Morning on WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio app.
Thank you. And this is Smart Law with John Zarek, presented and sponsored by the law offices of John Zarek, Thursday mornings in the 8 o'clock hour. I consider it a privilege. We have the opportunity to present John Zarek and have very listenable commentaries. The law offices of John Zarek, for any issue that you may be dealing with, you or a member of your family, a loved one, a friend, I confidently recommend and give my highest recommendation to John and his firm. You can call 609-641-2266. They're on the web at johnzarek.com. Counselor, busy times, interesting times.
Yeah, lots going on.
I know.
Harry, I'm here. It's Smart Law with John Zarek. So we talk about my practice, criminal defense. We talk about major cases around the country. What cases are spot on, which prosecutions are bogus. All four of the Trump prosecutions are bogus, obviously.
Totally.
Completely. And look how they're unraveling.
Hey, John, can you explain to our audience, how is Alvin Bragg, getting away with bringing a federal case? And we've heard this term bootstrapping, where you just take something and you bootstrap it to some state thing. How is he getting away with this?
Well, the state courts have proved him so far, prove him doing that.
He's going to wind up probably getting convicted, I think. Maybe there'll be somebody that will hold out. I can't imagine in New York City getting an entire jury agree to acquit him. So maybe he'll get a hung jury or something. But he'll ultimately win on appeal.
Yeah, no question.
But of course they win because their desire is to screw with him between now and November 5th. And I know you got a lot you want to talk about today, and it isn't necessarily this, but if you don't mind entertaining this.
No problem.
Because here's an example. Starting Monday, the president, he's been ordered. I thought a defendant didn't have to be in the courtroom if they didn't want to be. I always think it's a good idea, because if you show the jury disrespect by, hey, this guy doesn't even think anything, I got to give up my job or what I'm doing right now, this guy's not even here. So I wouldn't recommend not being there, but he's been ordered that he has to be there. He will have to be there every day except Wednesday. So they are succeeding in monopolizing his time, costing him money, costing him precious time, which you can never get back. This is insidious and sick, what's going on.
Yeah. It's Banana Republic. It's third world. It's what Venezuela does. It's what Russia does.
Yeah, Putin.
It's what any dictator.
Putin let one person stay on the ballot so he could get 90% of the vote and act like it was a democracy.
Hitler did it.
Yeah, he got everybody else off the ballot.
He just whacked everybody that opposed him, slaughtered his own supporters.
But the federal government looked at this, the DOJ, the FEC. There is no there, and yet here he is in a criminal setting.
Yeah, it's an embarrassment to the country. It's sort of a precursor to civil war, if you will. This is the stuff when this is what they're doing is what the Confederates did in 1861. They were part of the United States. There was the Constitution of the United States. It provided for procedures and laws and reviews and elections and Supreme Court justices being appointed and so forth. It was a system that had worked very well for a good period of time. And they had, the Southern planters primarily, the slave owners, and some of them had thousands and thousands of slaves and vast wealth. I think in the world of the people in the world who were, the top 10 wealth owners in the world, I think something like 4 of them lived in Alabama or Mississippi. It was like that was the biggest concentration of wealth in the world. They had their interest, and they wanted things to go a certain way. Slavery was not. They could have had slaves and had their plantations forever, but the one thing that they couldn't stomach, there could have been gone on compromises forever and things be fine, but the one thing that they couldn't stomach, and this is what the left is like today, they couldn't stomach the idea that the people in the North, or the people who opposed slavery, thought that they were trash, thought that they were real gutter scum. That's what and they did. How are you going to respect someone who keeps people in chains, sells families apart, and
So they had an ego problem that they were looked upon as low class.
They had a major ego problem. They were highly educated. They were the most educated people in the country probably. I'm talking about the planter class and their kids. They went to, all the major Ivy League universities, and they were very wealthy. They traveled to Europe, the whole works.
Just a little backwards in their thinking.
Yeah, they just like to have sex with 13-year-old girl slaves and boy slaves, and they thought that was recreational, and they'd, bring their brother over and the nephews over, and they'd go to town. I mean, they were depraved.
Gluttony.
Yeah, they were depraved. So, good example of why wealth doesn't equal virtue.
Yeah, or class.
Yeah, or class or anything. So they couldn't. And there were continuing exposés in the North. Uncle Tom's Cabin was one, for example, to show the real, and I'd recommend anyone who hasn't read that to read it. It shows the real scene of what it was like. And they couldn't stand that the Northerners really looked down their nose at them, which was appropriate. I mean, if you're raping and killing and, you could beat somebody to death, and you could break a family apart. And those families, to the Southerners, the African Americans, black, were they were kind of not really human, or not, they were a lower class, they thought. So that if they sold them apart, okay, they'd squawk a little bit, but they weren't suffering like we would if our families were torn apart. But actually, in fact, they did. They did suffer as much. They were fully human. They were. They had all the sensitivities and all the potential and all the brains that anyone else had, And they, so the Northerners knew all this, and it was well publicized, and more abolitionist speakers were about. They didn't do much about it, but they were the awareness was there, and the Southerners couldn't take it.
Yeah, people should actually read, and obviously he's a good friend of ours, Brian Kilmeade's work, because the books that he has done, Teddy and Booker T, Lincoln and Frederick Douglass. I mean, this backs up everything that you're saying.
Yeah,
and then some.
Yeah,
John, you have a listener that posed a question. It doesn't say a particular name. But
anytime,
I sort of know what it's about. You saw my watch.
Yeah, no problem.
Light up a little bit ago, and the question is: would John explain the process of getting a search warrant?
Sure. A police officer, say, gets an informant or sees something himself or looks on a computer and sees, with tracking information, sees contraband go into someone's computer, or sees someone on the computer setting up a drug deal, or, is told by a person, hey, this guy raped me. They go and they see, they talk to the victim, and they find all the indications of an assault and beating. So the police officer goes to, he types up an affidavit or dictates an affidavit, and the affidavit says whatever he saw or heard. It's hearsay, but you're allowed to do that at that level. Goes to the judge, can go to a superior court judge, municipal court judge, whoever, and say, presents this information, and he wants a warrant to search, has to be specific, to search the house, to search a computer, to search the car, to search the person, whatever. And the judge, in almost every case, 99.9% of cases, because most police officers do their job, but they do make mistakes at times, and that could often result in suppression of evidence. We've suppressed a lot of evidence in our day because of faulty applications. And he goes to the judge, and the judge looks at it and signs it and says, the warrant says you're hereby allowed to search this, this, and this. And the police officer goes back to his unit, or the prosecutor's office, detective goes to his office, and they get the people together necessary to be safe when they do that. Usually if they know someone is docile, then maybe it could be two people. But if they know there's a potential, especially if there are weapons involved, or persons known to have weapons, then they might have a dozen people involved or more.
Well, what about a local example where there were no weapons involved and there were 20 people, evidently?
Yeah, if it can be, as we saw in the case of the gentleman who was a pro-life activist, an attorney. He was on a line at an abortion agency, and it's common. You'll see people praying outside the abortion, following the rules, and talking to people as they go in. And someone pushed his kid, was violent with his kid, so he pushed the person away, and perfectly normal. Merrick Garland and his crew did for that arrest, and they knew there was potential trouble. So his attorney said to the U.S. attorney and so forth, FBI, whoever, we'll bring him in. Repeatedly said, I know you might charge him. He's innocent, but we'll bring him in. You can process him, so forth.
They wanted to do it a different way.
So they called the press. They called everybody there. They had 20, 30 people, guns drawn, 7 little kids, I think, broke in, held guns at everybody, screaming, yelling. Those kids are still not going to be right.
You take Roger Stone in Florida, senior citizen, no guns, him and his wife. She was ill with cancer. They knew all this. Amphibious boats, helicopters, assault weapons, dozens and dozens and dozens of law enforcement, gun, as you're saying, same thing, guns drawn and all that. I don't think that should be allowed in our country.
No, not in that circumstance. And, they never have a good reason for it. Look, most law enforcement, you don't see that. You might see that once in a while here, but very rare. The people, the federal government is a little different than local government. You and I know half the people in the police department. We know detectives, we know prosecutors, we know judges. We, may have, they may have a clerk for me or something. You never, actually at this stage, almost every judge that's on the bench was watching me try cases when they were clerks or something, and it's a very comfortable situation. So they're very, when you know someone well and you live in the same community, maybe you can go to church with them or something, they're not going to do something that outrageous. But the federal government is different. The federal government, there are people working in, say, Camden at the U.S. Attorney's Office, a lot of U.S. attorneys, a lot of FBI guys. They're from all over the country, and they have all of New Jersey as their jurisdiction. So they don't know, the people they're dealing with, they don't know.
Yeah.
And the people don't know
See,
them.
I agree with that. I'll put an example. We'll rip it from the actual pages. The P. Diddy raids of his homes, and seems, I'm not sure to what extent it's about him, but initially they're mentioning about the sons. They don't know what they're going to walk into there, guns or anything else. So I think you have to go into some of these with a lot of firepower. And I don't criticize
of course.
those examples, but I do criticize going to Roger Stone's home when his lawyer offered to bring everything that they had asked for to them, and they come in with a military assault.
They shouldn't, that is that's where law enforcement falls short at time, because they
tipped off CNN, so CNN is there,
right.
And they wanted this spectacle. They wanted the visual of this type of raid, and it just shouldn't be allowed.
Yeah. Let me tell you.
After the break, we'll come right back.
Yeah,
Hold
sure.
it right there. It's 22 minutes past the hour, so we got to catch up real quick right now. We'll be back with Smart Law with John Zarek in just a little bit. Stay with us.
Hurley in the morning.
Cut the BS and let's just get to the truth.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5. You're waking up with Hurley in the morning on South Jersey's talk station, WPG Talk Radio 95.5, and the WPG Talk Radio app.
Today.
You're waking up with Hurley in the morning.
Established, reputable.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
We are back. It's 27 minutes past the hour. Smart Law with John Zarek continues. Counselor, if you remember right where you were.
Yeah, we're talking about, often these things are in the federal system. They're often done by strangers. They don't know the people involved. They, don't have a relationship. They don't know who's good, who's bad necessarily. Now, I don't remember ever our local FBI office doing anything outrageous like that. They're in general real good men and women. The head knows what he's doing, and the section chiefs and so forth. They do a good job, and they're the kind of guys that are dedicated to not only getting the bad guys, but dedicating to upholding the law. So they're good, and have we heard of any outrageous incidents here in the last, 5, 10, 15, 20 years? Can you think of any involving the federal government?
No.
They get the job done. They do what's necessary. But, this.
You remember it was I'll call it a generation ago, only because they've retired. the Tom Raftery era of FBI in the Atlanta County area, tremendous. They were fantastic.
Yeah.
Knew a lot of those guys, including Tom. There are newer people now that I don't know and don't know as well. But no abuse.
Yeah.
They did their job.
Sure.
And did it well.
One of my friends there, who's now retired, I won't mention his name. He's a really good guy. We worked on a murder case together. I represented actually a witness to the murder case who was also a potential defendant, and we really had a laugh because he had a lot of things to do besides try to keep track of this guy. So the guy was talking to my client, from time to time. He had a thing for my client, but she also was witnessing him, taking a body out of his car and burying it. So it was a little bit of a dangerous situation because this guy was really a mad dog, and he had killed somebody for very little reason, and it would be very logical that he would try to kill her.
Wow.
And so Joe, I'll say his name was he was in charge of the case. We would typically be together like 24 hours with this woman, wherever she was. She wasn't at home, and waiting for the call from the guy to come in so the FBI could trap and trace, and so try to talk him in, and she could try to talk him in, and so forth. And the only problem was there were times when there'd be an utter emergency, and there was no one else to go, and he'd have to go. So he'd be gone for 2 hours. Then the guy would call, and I'm writing down the responses for my client. Not that my job is being a homicide detective, or that I knew what I was doing. Fortunately, it
where you
worked
found
out
yourself.
pretty well.
Yeah.
And he'd come back and he'd say, "Wow, I'm sorry about that." I'd say, "Hey,
he called.
Hey, Joe.
While you're gone.
Hey, man."
TV show while you were out.
Yeah. It's not. I didn't go to Homicide 101 in school. So that was we had good laughs about that. Ultimately, my client did talk the guy in.
Wow.
And
gutsy.
Mostly with his instruction about, maybe we had 3 different sessions with my instructions, but we came in and it was good. The guy was arrested and, pled guilty and the whole works. And my client didn't get killed, which is good. But they were great. They're great guys. They want to do the right thing, and they do the right thing. But when you get political prosecutions like this,
that's
the things with Trump.
The Trump raid was an abomination.
Yeah, absolutely.
Terrible.
The things with Trump.
And by the way, it's an abomination because look how they handled the Biden documents.
Yeah, and that guy Jack Smith, I'll tell you,
it's terrible.
I don't like him. Look, the government can be a refuge. 95%, 98% of the people that work for the government, that work for the FBI, that work for the Justice Department, whatever, they're really good and really top notch. I mean, you better be ready if you're going to try a case in front of those guys, or with those guys. They work really hard. They know how to do it. But this guy, Jack Smith, the government can also be a refuge for people like him.
He doesn't have a great record.
My opinion.
My opinion, too. I'm with you, John. I'm not leaving you on this. I'm right with you on this. He has a bad record with Menendez and other cases. I don't even think he's that. I think he's bad at what he does. On top of not being good at what he does.
You look at the guy.
I think he has bad intentions.
You look at the guy and I'm not a psychiatrist, but you look at the guy and there's something wrong. In my opinion.
Well, you look in his eyes.
There's something wrong.
To me, and it's a little snarky, but he dresses like a Klingon.
Yeah,
he's a strange man.
Something wrong, in my opinion, which is based on no professional opinion, but like I'm a human being.
Yeah, you're allowed to have one.
Yeah, not a professional opinion, but there's something wrong there.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
Let's get the halftime break in. We're catching up. We're only 4 minutes behind now. 4 minutes, 34 minutes past the hour. John Zarek, Smart Law with John Zarek continues.
This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
We're back with John Zarek, Harry Hurley. 3 stories that you can follow right now on the WPG Talk Radio 95.5 app. Conflicts of interest. Take a moment to read this piece because I've noticed attorneys that are representing clients in matters where they should be nowhere near that particular courtroom, and certain judges are allowing it. Judge Rosenberger did not allow it. See the difference. Check it out. Boxing returns to Tropicana, Atlantic City for the first time in 7 years, and Atlantic County prosecutor is focused on alleged child abuse.
Good morning with your South Jersey weather forecast. I'm Joe Kelly. We might be a little teased this morning with a little bit of sunshine amongst the clouds, but for this afternoon, April reality hits as we'll see some more scattered showers across South Jersey. Today's high about 55. Tonight, some clearing, a low 39. Tomorrow, not too bad, partly sunny with a high of 51. Actually, for the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, both days look dry with temperatures in the 50s. That's your South Jersey weather.
You're waking up with Hurley in the morning. WPG Talk Radio 95.5. Hurley in the morning.
They really do separate fact from fiction.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
It's 40 minutes past the hour. Smart Law with John Zarek continues. Counselor, time is yours.
Yeah, suffice it to say that this arrest, gang arrest, raid of the fellow who was ultimately found not guilty, like right away, of the protester, the abortion protester, that was run by Merrick Garland. I mean, he had hands on that, and they
ran that how they wanted to run it.
And the Trump things were run by Merrick Garland.
Yes, and
he is, a weasel as far as I can tell. He looks like a weasel. He talks like a weasel. He's, he shakes in his boots. Maybe he's getting a little more used to it now, but in the old days, I mean, he'd be questioned hard. And they know the guys asking the questions know the answers.
Yeah,
he's not going to give the answer.
Yeah, and he can't.
But he'd be shaky and stuff. Really, the last guy you'd want in that position. And so, like many cowardly people, when he gets a chance to put the hammer down on somebody. And we see this in municipal court. We see this in, Superior Court. We see it everywhere, with everyone involved. We rarely see someone acting like that, like really throwing their weight around. But there are, once in a while, there are people like that. There's a prosecutor. There's always a prosecutor around who does that. There's always a judge around who does that. Thankfully, none that I know of in Atlantic County right now. There usually is a judge around, but everybody is, everybody's good. We really have a good judiciary, and we really have a good prosecutor's office. Because I don't think Will would, the prosecutor. Sorry for calling him Will, but I don't think Will would tolerate that.
No,
that kind of boorish behavior or vindictive behavior. I don't think he would go. In fact, I know of one case where he really stood up against a judge very vociferously, where the judge was just doing something wrong, and in open court challenged them, and then caused some difficulties for him. I'm talking about a certain municipal court judge.
Yeah,
that if you mention the guy's name to 100 defense attorneys, they'll 99 will puke, and the other one will throw something. So we have these. Everybody knows who the bad apples are, and so forth. But unfortunately, we typically don't have a bad apple who's the Attorney General of the United States, but this guy is.
Oh, we got one now.
No doubt. The things that he has his hand in, always have this humiliation of others, typical bullying behavior.
Yeah,
and
like Roger Stone.
Yeah, typical bullying behavior. Roger Stone, this activist, and many others.
Who was the guy they got at the airport? His office was right next door to the FBI, but they he's in jail now. They put him in leg shackles and all this right in the airport. Who was Trump's trade representative? I can't think of his name, but terrible. And
yeah, they just put him in jail. I mean, he's the only guy in history ever prosecuted, I think, for refusing to testify before Congress.
Yeah.
Like we've had a bunch of Democrats refuse to testify before
Congress. And they did it to Manafort, too.
Yeah.
But it's never been done ever, never, ever before. I can't believe I can't remember his name. It'll come to me. But older man.
Fit. Gray hair.
Yeah. Had a
lot of spunk.
Yeah. No reason to be treated like that.
Very good on his feet. Yeah.
Yes. Very, very smart. We'll be right back. Final break. And I know John has a topic that he wants to close the program with. We'll have 9 minutes uninterrupted right after this.
You're waking up with Hurley in the morning.
Makes me think about things a little bit differently.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5. You're listening to Hurley in the Morning on South Jersey's talk station, WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio app. You're listening to Hurley in the Morning.
Egg Harbor Township. I'm from Margate.
Listen at home or in the office on your smart speaker. Just say, play WPG.
Brigantine.
Cape May. Galloway.
Hurley in the Morning on South Jersey's talk station, WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
9 minutes before the top of the hour, we're going to be joined by Larry Goldberg, CEO of Boxing Insider. Boxing returns to Tropicana for the first time in 7 years, coming up on May 11th. We're going to review that card. Also, there's a great local angle with a Holy Spirit grad who actually, in his boxing pedigree, if you will, is undefeated and has actually defeated the 2022 National Golden Gloves Junior Middleweight Champion. So he's serious. He's no joke. That's coming up next hour. It took John and I about 10 seconds into the break to remember Peter Navarro. So we got that issue off the table, right. John, and now time is yours, of course.
Yeah. I want to spend the rest of the time, not much left, but the rest of the time talking about Ukraine and the need there. And we'll start out UkraineHumanitarian.org. If you look up UkraineHumanitarian.org, that's our website. And it's a good website. I'll say that. It was designed by a friend in D.C. She does big companies nationally, internationally, and she's so committed to the cause that she agreed to work for us for an embarrassingly little amount of money. We want to cover her overhead, but she's done a fantastic job. It's a great website. There's video on there. There's pictures on there. There's descriptions of what we do. And when I say we, I go over now and then, but my brother Mark basically spends, he's been here the last 2 summers. He's the general manager of the beach concerts. He's the guy with the white hat. The stuff comes in, he hires the people, he builds it, manages it, breaks it down. That's his job in the summer. And aside from that, he's generally in Ukraine. So he may come home for Christmas. That's it. But he's been over since January, I guess. Still there, and still will be there for a while. We bought a new van. We burned out our old van. 30,000 miles we put on it, and now we brought a bigger van, and he's on the road, with a lot of help, and he gets what's needed and gets it to where it's needed. And he just sent a number of photos back. He just delivered an incubator to a maternity hospital, plus a whole truckload because it was needed. And there's a lot of need in Kharkiv right now because the United States is not supplying anti-aircraft ammunition. Patriot ammunition, HIMARS, which we have. I think we have 1,000 HIMARS rockets. The guns, the mobile shooters are in Ukraine now. They just don't have the rockets that go in them. Because we don't have those rockets, the Russians are, more successful at knocking out infrastructure. Of course, the Ukrainians can fix anything 10 times faster than anybody else, and so they'll knock out a power plant, and miraculously they'll put it back together in a week. But the Russians have been really attacking the power plants, and so now you have maternity hospitals and other health facilities that don't have things they need, and so these incubators, which can run off a generator, so he'll go and deliver an incubator and a generator, to keep a baby alive. So that's what's going on. And
the work is amazing, John.
Yeah, he is
saving lives. I mean, it doesn't really get better than that. So let's step up and help.
So Harry just. For those, handed me a check from Hurley in the Morning Charities and to Ukraine Humanitarian Inc. for $500, and that is great. That will buy a couple generators.
Good.
And keep people who might be in a hospital who couldn't take the shock of cold. It'll keep them alive.
Good.
Simple as that.
Great.
Simple as that. So. The money you give, this isn't for repainting the garage or something.
Right.
The money that you give to UkraineHumanitarian.org, please look it up. It's just Google it, UkraineHumanitarian.org, and you'll see what we do. You'll see what it is. And when I say we, it's primarily Mark, my brother, and a bunch of friends. I mean, from all over the world.
Our generators
Harry
right now?
knows.
Are they?
Harry knows many of them.
Oh, because of you.
Oleg.
Oh, my God. They're
Oleg,
real
Jacob.
Is generators right now one of the biggest things that people need?
Very big. Very big. Because they knock out, these power plants.
That gives them power.
So this gives them power. So the generator can keep.
And they can get gas that's available?
Yeah, that's not a problem. Plenty of gas. Ukraine has its own, own energy production, and the United States produces it, and gas is not a problem now.
Good.
But the keeping people warm is a problem. And what happens is if you have 10 older people who have various problems, a heart problem, a stroke or whatever, and they're in a little ward, and the heat goes out, and it goes down. It's the Russian winter. It's cold.
Yeah.
It's freezing. And when that happens,
they get run down and they get sick.
If they don't get warm, they die.
Yeah.
They'll get sick. They die. They can't fight the infection or whatever's bothering them. It stresses their heart, stresses their mind, whatever.
How are they doing with food and things, other basic necessities?
There are a lot. Mark is doing a lot of that, and a lot of. I think I've showed you a lot of the pictures. He and his crew, and they usually do it with 2 or 3 together. There are lots and lots of villages where, again, really old people have no maybe they've never been to Kyiv, or they've never been any place but their village. And one particular one is 50 yards from the Russian border. And there's a big field, maybe 400 yards clear, and then there's a wood line on the other side. And the Russians are in that wood line. So when Mark and his crew, he went in with 2 vans, they take these people food. They have none of their own. Food. In the spring and summer, they can grow vegetables and things like that, potatoes. Food, water. They have no water.
Huge.
They have wood stoves, and they can get wood so they can keep warm. But the need is really tremendous, and we're gonna fund Ukraine. The Speaker of the House said he's going to pass that bill.
I think when they come back next week, it's going to happen.
He's going to pass the bill, And
he might lose his position over it, but he's doing it. Got to give him credit.
He's a great man.
Yeah,
a great man.
I mean, he's risking his own position.
Yeah, he's a great man, and he knows as well as I. And I laid out why to his defense advisor. Actually, I was able to talk to
20 seconds.
Yeah, he knows that if we don't turn this around, this anti-Ukraine aid thing, the Republicans are going to lose the presidency, they're going to lose the House, and they're going to lose the Senate. I am quite sure of that. And I think they're starting to get the idea. So,
John, thank you for a great visit. Smart Law, presented by the law offices and sponsored by the law offices of John Zarek. Every Thursday morning in the 8 o'clock hour. Thank you, John.
WENJ HD3, Millville, a Town Square media station. Everything you need to know in 6 minutes starts now. From Harry Hurley Way in the world's playground to the broadcast pioneers of Philadelphia Hall of Fame, you're about to find out why Harry Hurley has been named to the Talkers Magazine list of the 100 most important talk show hosts in the nation. Live from the studios of Town Square Media in Northfield, it's Hurley in the Morning on WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio app.
Thank you. Welcome back. 5 minutes past the hour. We're going to have a great 9 o'clock hour, and I'm going to tell you why. Because I know Larry is going to bring it for the time that we're going to spend with Larry. And then I want to make sure that Larry has enough time to share a lot of important content with what's going to be coming up during the month of May. It's a very exciting time. If you read the digital platform of WPG Talk Radio 95.5, you have a little bit of a head start because we published what I thought was a really important readable piece yesterday about boxing returning to Tropicana, Atlantic City for the first time in 7 years. We're going to talk about that and who's coming in. There's a great local angle to the fight card as well. And it's my pleasure to welcome Larry Goldberg, who is an Atlantic City native himself. So he's come back home with this card that's going to be, he's done great work in New York and elsewhere. And he's bringing an exciting boxing series to Atlantic City, and we're going to talk about it for 1 or 2 segments with Larry beginning right now. Hey, Larry, welcome to Hurley in the Morning. Glad you're here.
Hey, how are you? Thank you very much for having me.
It's my pleasure. So what I love about this is you're an Atlantic City native, so you're not just somebody that's blowing into town that, doesn't know Atlantic City. I mean,
they're all carpetbaggers. All these promoters, they come in from Philly. They come in from like 2 hours away. They bring in a crowd of a few hundred people, and no one in town even knows that there's boxing when we do get some cards. So I grew up in Margate. I learned how to promote fights in New York City, and things just kind of came together, and we're going to do our 10th professional card in a little bit less than 2 years here in Atlantic City.
I love it. Larry Goldberg is with us. He's the Chief Executive Officer of Boxing Insider Promotions, very active promoter in New York City, as Larry was just sharing, and from the Atlantic City area, and bringing boxing back to Tropicana Casino Resort in Atlantic City for the first time in 7 years. I'll tell you, I love the whole idea. And I think you know this about me. I'm a huge fight fan my entire life. I love boxing, and I love what you're doing and what you're about to do on May 11th. And we'll get into those details and where people can get tickets and all of that over the time that we have. We're going to do at least 1 or 2 segments, so we're not in a rush. I love this local angle. As a broadcaster, I can tell you, I broadcasted his Thanksgiving game for his entire career, and he was a standout at Holy Spirit High School, as you know, in both football and in wrestling, Justin Figueroa. And so not only are you bringing boxing back to Atlantic City, but there's a great local angle to this card.
Yes. The idea is to bring our New York boxing series here, but bring it with a mix of local and regional talent. And Justin was literally one of the first people. They reached out to me, his manager Jolene, And, we made a deal very quickly, and, it made sense to have, quote unquote, Mr. Atlantic City on. I've been told I'm the first boxing promoter that actually went to Atlantic City High School that's ever promoted boxing here. So.
Look, I've been around for quite a bit. I don't recall anyone before you. So I love the whole angle. I really do. On Justin Figueroa, what did not get past me, Larry, was the part of the information that you shared with me about Justin's career to date, which is undefeated, 8-0 with 6 knockouts. He defeated the 2022 National Golden Gloves champion, Nasheed Smith. When you beat a National Golden Gloves champion, that's rarefied good stuff.
Oh, he's for real. No, he's for real. And he's for real. In the next couple of years, you'll hear about him on the national stage. There's no doubt about it.
And in terms of the matchups, what do you do? I mean, because obviously people love watching great fights. They like watching fights that obviously are very interesting and active. And you think about some of the great fights in the history of Atlantic City. Gotti Ward and all these different fights over the years. So, we love great boxing. And as you know, Atlantic City was the boxing capital of the world when my former boss, President Trump, signed Mike Tyson. And that particular era when all the Tyson fights were in Atlantic City, Tyson Spinks, all the Foreman fights that were in Atlantic City, so on and so forth. So Atlantic City area knows excellent boxing. What do you try to accomplish with your matchups?
So growing up in Atlantic City, we all romanticize the Tyson fights, the Gotti fights. But I just remember going to like Bally's and Sands and resorts and going to those little club boxing fights. There'd be times where it would be, no one would be in the venue. There'd be like 40 of us that had comp tickets, and it would be like, on some obscure channel. And sometimes you go to the fights and it was horrible. And then sometimes you go to the fights and every fight was action packed. I kind of went to create that when we were in New York at Sony Hall. What we were basically trying to do was, good club fights. It wasn't about, Hopkins is on the card, so, he's going to win. It wasn't that we were going to get Hopkins. We were going to get Hopkins, 3 years before he was Hopkins, and we were going to put him in a fight where he could lose. And so in New York, we were just doing, it was all about the fights. And if the favorite that didn't always win. And so the idea was really just to put on exciting fights. And now as I learn the business, because this will be my 10th show, we can't just draw live boxing. So people want to see local fighters, international fighters, stuff of that nature. So, it becomes a little bit of a blend. But, at the core of it is we want to put on competitive fights. I don't want to be one of these cards where every guy on the A side, the red corner, wins in the first round because, their manager made a deal.
Right. Understood. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, let's do one more segment, Larry, together. And then we have time in the run-up to May 11th. Let's talk about, obviously, we sort of have mentioned the when and the where, but let's specifically go over the day, the date, and let's get into the card itself, who will be coming and fighting at the Tropicana Casino Hotel in Atlantic City on Saturday, May 11th. Back with Larry Goldberg, the Chief Executive Officer of Boxing Insider Promotions, right after this.
You're listening to Hurley in the Morning.
We live in a society where everybody is offended.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5, South Jersey's talk station.
Free.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5. For complete contest rules, visit WPGTalkRadio.com. You're listening to Hurley in the Morning.
Under President Biden, America has laid out a welcome mat to illegal immigrants, smugglers, and cartels.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
The border issues are out of control.
South Jersey's talk station.
We are back at 16 minutes past the hour, getting back to Larry in just a moment, but it is my pleasure, my honor as well, to share with you that this portion of our program is brought to us in part. We've been promoting Congress Hall. We've been promoting Beach Plum Farms, which in West Cape May, it is just a fantastic utilization of space, of having a working farm, of having the cottages, if you will. fantastic. It's a great place to stay. You can enjoy it all. If you're a guest at Beach Plum Farm, you have the opportunity to indulge in amazing farm fresh meals. They serve family style. You can enjoy it around long communal tables at night. I mean, it is wonderful. It's a captivating atmosphere, and you'll see the full moon, the highlights and the flavors of the farm, unique dishes that are inspired by the time of the year that you're in. So there are full moon dinner dates that I want to share with you. One in this month, Tuesday, April 23rd, the Pink Moon Dinner. Then Thursday, May 23rd, the Flower Moon Dinner. Friday, June 21st, Strawberry Moon Dinner. Sunday, July 21st, Buck Moon Dinner. Monday, August 19th, Sturgeon Moon Dinner. Tuesday, September 17th, Harvest Moon Dinner. Thursday, October 17th. Ooh, that's a special day. That is Margie Hurley's anniversary to a certain someone. That will be the Hunter Moon Dinner. Now, there's a good chance right now, because Margie is working, that she's not listening. I would probably make me like a really, really good husband if I surprise Margie on October 17th at the Hunter Moon Dinner. I have to peruse that. And then Friday, November 15th, the Beaver Moon Dinner. Farm dinners are for guests 21 and older. The cost is $225 per person. But remember, it's not just a dinner. It's an experience, and reservations are required. Tickets available at beachplumfarmcapemay.com. And prices inclusive of your adult beverages, and all of that will be paired with your dinner. And Beach Plum Farm is located at 140 Stevens Street in West Cape May. We've been there many times. I've never stayed, though, at Beach Plum Farms, because when we went there, the residences were not yet there. It's amazing what Curtis and his team have done. Beach Plum Farm in West Cape May. It truly is a great experience. Visiting with Larry Goldberg, he's bringing live boxing back to Tropicana Hotel and Casino in Atlantic City. Now we're going to get into some of the particulars. Larry, share exactly what day and all the details about where, when, and all that.
So it's Saturday night, May 11th. The doors are open at 6:30. We're probably going to start a little early, just because we have probably we have five or six already locked in, but we've got about 20 possibles. A lot of people are trying to get on these cards, and it'll be a fun night of boxing at Tropicana.
Without a doubt. And where do you get tickets?
Ticketmaster.com. I'd like to offer you to come. I'd like to, give away some tickets to some of the listeners here as well.
Let's do that for sure. We will definitely.
We can talk about that later. But yeah, like I said, look, it's a pretty formulaic thing. The idea is to bring the New York show here. I've always wanted to work with Larry Hazard and the New Jersey Athletic Control Board. I've always, like I said, I used to work at Tropicana when I was much younger, and this is a dream come true, and I've always wanted to work with a lot of the local people down here. I haven't been here in a while, so it's I'm just kind of getting reacclimated to the scene a little bit. But we have a strong card, like you mentioned, Justin Figueroa. We have John Leonardo, who is very good. He's 11-1 from New Jersey. He's fighting on the card. We have Dwight Flemings from New Jersey. He's fought in Atlantic City a couple times. We have heavyweight sensation who has a family in Cape May, but he was a New York Golden Gloves winner, Price Taylor. He's a heavyweight who, we just featured him in New York last month, and, he's winning the hearts and minds. And we have Jacob Solis, who is, I think a middleweight, and, who also, he went pro on my card in December. So, we've got, a few more that we're working on, but it'll be good action. And it'll be like pure boxing. It's not going to be, one of those gimmick events or whatever. It's going to be pure boxing. And if the local community is interested in this kind of entertainment, the idea is that we bring this back every couple months. And, we can put together some interesting fights, Philadelphia versus New York, New Jersey, those kind of fights with, obviously, international talents.
Well, as you know, boxing has worked very well in Atlantic City over the years. I love your energy. I like your approach. I really believe that you're onto something here. I also love the fact that the tickets are priced in a way that, ordinary people can go. So many entertainment events of today, I mean, it's the prices are just psychedelic. So this is reasonable, $60 up to, if you want the best seats in the house, up to $200. And there's in between the range is there, $60, $100, $150, and $200. I also like the fact that if it's either someone that maybe isn't in the area or won't be here at the time, you're also streaming the event at boxinginsider.com. So I always know this. Boxing, it's a lot like in a comparative way. I'm not saying it's a comparison in terms of the two sports, but the difference between watching hockey or NFL or any other type of live action sport, the difference between in-person and TV is so dramatic that the hits are harder, the sounds, the sights. So I'll never forget, I've only been to one NFL hockey game. It was a Flyers game. And I've watched many hockey games on TV. I couldn't believe how fast the speed of the skaters. There's just certain things you don't see and I'm not putting down TV. I love TV. But so if you want to go there, the tickets are priced reasonable. If you can't, then it will be streaming. So I love the way you have all the bases covered because that'll help get the word out. And that's what I think helps feed this into becoming something that isn't a one-time only, but something that, as you mentioned, you would hope to be able to make it repeatable. That it would be something that people would be looking forward to, and you'd have a schedule and all of that. So I think you have some real potential here, Larry.
Well, let me just kind of give you a quick little background. So HBO, Showtime, all the big networks have kind of exited out of boxing. Most of these, what we call club shows, which are the shows that aren't in MSG or, the Barclays Center or places like that. If they're streamed, they're on these little streaming services. Nobody watches them. They're between like $25 to watch, And so what my idea was that we're going to tape it, we're going to film it, and we're going to stream it, and we're going to put it out there for free. So people see these fights and they get distributed. And in fact, these fights get picked up on all the bootleg sites, even though it's a free website, like all those illegal streaming sites pick up these fights. So we can't even track the numbers anymore. But it's the idea is to get as many eyeballs on these fighters as possible and, try to, we've launched a few careers off this series in New York. And, it's my hope that we can do the same thing here.
Yeah, I'm not surprised because I've been following you and I've been following your work. And I'm excited that you're bringing it to Atlantic City on May 11th. That'll be the first opportunity to see exactly what Larry does and Boxing Insider Promotions. When you go to this fight or you're watching it on the different, streaming opportunities that we've mentioned, the Boxing Insider stream, what should people experience? There are a lot of people that that are pretty savvy fight fans and they know good fights, and such. How would you describe the viewing experience in person or if you're watching it on the stream? Your thoughts about that?
You're going to see good action. We have Eric Botcher as our matchmaker. He's actually being inducted into the Atlantic City Boxing Hall of Fame in September. He's been doing this for 31 years, and he's been my matchmaker from day one. Again, this will be my 10th professional fight card since October 2022, and I think out of all those cards, I think we might have only had one or two real bad fights. So we know he knows how to put on the good fights. I don't want to take credit for it because that's all him, but you'll see good action, and the favorite's not always going to win, or if he does, you're going to know why he's the favorite.
Larry, what got you involved in the fight business?
I grew up here. Normal kids went to Phillies games. I went to boxing events and, in the casinos when they had, and those empty ballroom cards, and it was just like, come on in. It's like, oh, all right. So my friends and I, we grew up in Margate. We used to just go to all the fights on the weekends back when, this was the fight city.
So interesting. I think about local guys and gals, but local guys that have done good. Newstatter out of Margate has become an absolute legitimate filmmaker. That's amazing. Tom Cantone's son, Mark Cantone, is Emmy Award winning. He's up for a big award right now that I was looking at, Absecon Boy. So I just covered Margate, your Margate. I think it's really cool because look, these other people that do things that are big, that are successful, they come from other towns and other states. So why it's not, to me, anything unusual that somebody from Margate or Atlantic City or wherever can do big things. So it sounds to me like you loved something when you were younger and you dreamt big and you found a way to do it.
I appreciate that. The idea, like I said, was the law of scales, where we were doing the small events, and like I said, though, this is a local thing for me. My father, David Goldberg, was the president of Atlantic City Linen for many years, and he helped me get my license and get started a couple of years ago, and he passed away over the summer. And we were discussing, at the end, he really wanted me to be part of the Atlantic City business community and bring this here. And so the idea is to be a local franchise. I'm not and be part of the community and help rebuild the amateur scene, help, work with the other promoters, work with, the PAL, and so that's sort of my idea going forward. Is it's not really just about May 11th. We've done 10 shows in 20, and like I said, less than 2 years, just to sort of put that a little bit in perspective. New York State, with everything, is just the most regulated state in the country. And somehow in 2023, we figured out New York did 16 regulated professional boxing events. And my company, which is really just me and, Eric and a few people who work part-time, we did 6 of those 16 in New York because we were doing them in Sony Hall, a small theater about 10 blocks away from MSG.
Very cool. Very cool.
It was the concept of, I was dreaming of doing, fights at the Sands, not fights at Convention Center type situation.
Yeah.
Knowing that I could do that, but I could not. If I went to the Garden, I'd have one bad night and you never hear from me again.
Yeah, you're picking like a boutique strategy, which I think really is, I think, a better way to go. I think it's more sustainable as not only a business model, but I think it makes a lot of sense. I've been meaning to tell you so many times in the times that we have talked off air, Larry, how long ago and how well I knew your dad, especially during my career as the senior hotel executive at Trump Castle Casino Resort by the Bay, because you know how many rooms we had and not just rooms, but there's so much linen in a hotel casino property, banquets and everything else. Oh my gosh, I knew your dad so incredibly well. What an elite business operator. So it doesn't surprise me that the apple didn't fall far from the tree. In the couple of minutes that we have for today, and at the end, I'll give you a shot to just close it out with whatever you want to say about, when, where, and getting tickets and all that. And we're gonna do more, I promise you, Larry, in the run up to it. But this is almost like pop culture, but it is boxing. Let me ask you for your thoughts about Tyson Pauls, this Netflix. I think it's going to be a spectacle. I'm watching as much of the, in particular, because I'm a huge Tyson fan. And for those who don't know, Tyson has like a PhD in boxing history. His knowledge of fighters from so long ago and their styles and just such intricate details. I don't think people realize that in terms of boxing, Tyson is really an intellectual. Incredible, actually. I think he's going to win the fight at age 58. A lot of people don't agree with me. What are your thoughts about Tyson Pauls?
I have a lot of thoughts on Tyson Paul. Until the actual rules are put out there, and until the fight is actually listed on BoxRec, which is the industry website, you almost have to assume that You know.
Well, let's say it's this. Let's say they're going to wear headgear, although that's not 100% confirmed, but I think they're going to wear headgear. Let's say it's not going to be scored. There'll only be a winner if there's a knockout. And I don't have any more, smart variables to throw into it. As sort of like a Rocky Balboa, Antonio Tarver, fight from Balboa, exhibition, although it might be a sanctioned fight, I don't know. Generally speaking, though, what do you think about it? Tyson, age 58, the background of Paul. What are your thoughts?
So Jake Paul was a joke when he first started,
Agreed.
and he has won all of us over. Like, he's the only influencer boxer that's like, now he's picking his shots, but Jake Paul has earned everyone's respect. Mike Tyson at 99 could knock out somebody.
Yeah. Yes. By the way, you've seen, I don't think any of it is like enhanced or anything. You can always speed things up, and you can always put sound. AI is, there's so many potentials to make something look better than it is. Tyson's speed at age 58, I don't know how much stamina there is. And I left one variable out. I think it's going to be 2-minute rounds, not 3. So that's helpful for Tyson, 58. So I think that's a variable. But I'll tell you, Tyson, Larry, he's hitting and making sound that is, if I'm Jake Paul, I'm a little bit concerned about what I'm seeing and hearing.
Any one of those punches lands, it's over. Mike Tyson, if you just see some of those videos, even if these guys decide, they script out a fake fight, there was a video a couple of days ago where someone kind of hit Mike Tyson, like a fan, like he was holding the miss, and for a second, Tyson almost snapped on him.
Yeah.
He's still Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
He's still, Jake Paul could hit him, he could still snap. Everyone in the world's going to watch this fight.
I know. And I love that it's on Netflix. A lot of people have a subscription. Obviously, a lot of people are going to buy it that night because of the fight. That's where you can watch it on Netflix television. I think it's going to be incredible. And I remember Holyfield coming back at age 50-something on 2 weeks' notice when Oscar De La Hoya got an injury or got sick or something, and Holyfield got knocked out in the first round. I don't think that's going to happen to Tyson.
Again, this is just one of those situations where you almost just you have no idea what's going to happen because none of us really know what it is. Even the Athletic Commission in Texas emailed someone in the media yesterday saying nothing's been submitted. They don't even know what the rules are for this.
You think they'll wear headgear?
No.
Yeah, I don't think so either. People are saying that, but I don't.
They should.
Yeah, I agree they should, but I don't. But I don't.
Tyson needs to. I'll put it this way: when this fight got announced, it was the same day as my last fight, and I walked over to the doctor in New York, and I just jokingly asked him, "Hey, what do you guys think about us putting it here?" And this guy was so offended, and he rattled off 50 different tests that I don't think they're going to make Mike Tyson take, starting with the all the advanced MRIs and all that stuff. And so yeah, not only should he fight, he's 58 years old. Of course he should be wearing headgear.
Yeah.
He should not be fighting. Let's be honest. A 58-year-old guy should not be fighting a guy 30 years younger, even if it is Mike Tyson.
No, hey, look, I agree. I will tell you, though, physically, he looks really good. He looks very fit. He looks capable of doing what he's about to do.
Like I said, this is one of those situations where you've got two of the most polarizing people in the world where, everyone and their grandmother is going to be watching this one.
Is it more, I got to go after this, is it more likely that Tyson will win or that he will lose, in your opinion?
Again, this is a hard one to.
Because in all fairness, you don't know anything. Even me saying it's 2-minute rounds, that's not confirmed. That's just stuff that could be just smack that we're hearing. So, and you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to hold that question and bring you back because obviously, I mean, it's not till July, but at some point they're going to have to tell us, what the rules of the fight are and how long the rounds are. We've heard at what weight the gloves may be, but again, nothing official. All that stuff matters. How big the ring will be, all of it matters. We'll hold that until, in fairness, I can give you a better question when there's more evidence, that you could consider. Quick comment on when your fight is, where it is, and then we'll sign off for now and reconvene in the near future.
Well, I really appreciate you having me on and giving me an opportunity. I hope that everyone local will give us this opportunity to come out on May 11th and see, good, clean, if it was baseball, we're talking AA, AAA baseball, and it'll be just good, clean fights with a mix of local and New York talent, and we're still working on a couple other fights. But we have some exciting fights lined up on May 11th at the Tropicana, who was gracious enough to give me an opportunity after we got the license to do this.
Larry, let's keep in touch. May 11th at Tropicana, boxing returns for the first time in 7 years. We'll talk again real soon, Larry. Have a great day. I've enjoyed it.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Take care. Larry Goldberg, I'm Hurley in the Morning. We'll be back right after this. Don't go away.
Mark Levin.
Are you going to be played by Joe Biden? Joe Biden's using the tactics of totalitarian, autocratic leaders around the world, of totalitarian, autocratic bigots from 100 years ago in our own country. Are you going to be played by this guy? You think our country is safer? You know it's not. You think your neighborhoods are cleaner and safer? You know they're not.
Mark Levin on South Jersey's talk station, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. Enable our skill and tell your smart speaker, play WPG.
Free.
You're waking up with Hurley in the morning.
I'm looking for trustworthy news.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
And we are back, 41 minutes past the hour. Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome back. I love these types of split appearances. And that was a lot of fun, what we just did with Larry Goldberg, and I'm excited about boxing coming back to Atlantic City. So we're gonna help in any way that we can. John, welcome back. I know you were very generous during your time to answer questions from our listeners, so I really appreciate the opportunity to give you additional time this morning about some of the things you didn't get to share, because you spent really probably 85, 90% of your hour on questions that you weren't even prepared to talk about today, and you were very generous about that. So I feel good about this time we're about to spend.
Yeah, thanks, Larry.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it. And it's needed, too. Our organization, Mark and I formed, it's not really that hard to do. We formed a nonprofit corporation. We got the Capaldi Reynolds crew to do the nonprofit application for us. They were very good. They help us make sure we don't violate any of the 501c3 rules. And so we are having a lot of demand, because everyone knows that there's been a struggle for the last few months over Ukraine funding.
Can you quantify? I don't expect you to have like a slide rule on it or anything, but that delay is a really big deal, isn't it? What that has meant.
It really, it's not ultimately going to be a big deal in terms of winning the war. It's just, and as I sat.
Hasn't been helpful.
Yeah, I sat a couple of weeks ago with the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, his defense advisor. They were really gracious too. I think I showed him some of the pictures there. I have one particular picture. Oleg, my friend, and
it's a favorite of mine,
and his brother Artem, and I'm standing in the middle of it, and the sun was blaring. There's snow on the ground.
Yeah,
sun's blaring, so
blinding.
I had sunglasses on, and a good bit of camo, and the three of us are standing there, and I'm folding my arms. It's like, and in fact, when I when I spoke to a couple of the congressmen, well, most of the guys I talked to, I'd start out and I say, we volunteer in Ukraine. We don't, we're non-combatants. We get shot at a lot. We don't shoot back. And we deliver food and medical supplies and generators and incubators. And, this is a picture over there. And so I show them that picture, and my line is, because you're trying to get someone to talk, you know. So my line is, I'd say, Congressman, I have to tell you, I didn't know I was a badass until I saw that picture.
It is a great
and
picture.
And they laugh uncontrollably.
It's great. I mean, it looks great.
And then the rest of the story is, there's guns all over, and, we were, in a combat area, so, in fact, when we took that picture, it was artillery hitting like 400 yards away, which is meaningless, in that environment, after the first time.
You get conditioned.
Yeah, you just, if it's not on top of you really, it's going off all the time. And, the odds that any individual are going to get killed is pretty slim, but somebody's going to get killed, sooner or later. But it's an interesting thing. So I then I would tell them, and when they stop laughing, and I say, Congressman, and I have to tell you, the truth of the matter is, these Ukrainians had stuffed me, and I mean 5 meals a day, and you can't not eat because it's insulting and stuff. These Ukrainians had stuffed me so that I had this big gut, and I was crossing my arms to try to cover up my gut, and it turned out to be a badass picture.
It's perfect.
Right?
It's a great photo. And, I've got it.
Yeah. And so they're really good people. They're really generous people, hospitable people.
What kind of food did you eat?
Very brave.
What did you eat?
Everybody eats borscht, which is, B-O-R-S-C-H-T or whatever. And Ukrainian borscht is, Polish borscht is like clear beet broth, sort of. But Ukrainian broth has everything but the kitchen sink in it. It's got potatoes and cabbage and meat and sausage and whatever, and beets and, and so a bowl of that will keep you going for 2 days if you need to. I mean, it's really good. And that's what everybody eats and what everybody loves. There's a place called Frontline Kitchen. They make borscht. They freeze dry it in packets, I don't know the process exactly, but they freeze dry it so it's dried out in a plastic sealed pack.
And that reconstitutes?
Yeah, they just put, the guys in the trenches just put hot water in, and they've got a great meal, and it's a meal that they love too.
Yeah.
It's a traditional meal. So Frontline Kitchen, they're in Lviv, good people, and brave, because Lviv gets a lot. In the beginning, it didn't get any artillery, but now it gets a lot of rockets and stuff. And they do 15,000 meals a week. 15,000. And there are people,
no joke,
standing there with vehicles all the time, lined up. They get the stuff and they hit the road and get it to the guys.
I mean, talk about
get it to the guys in the trenches.
Important work. I mean, that is huge.
Yeah,
keeping that going.
Yeah, if I ever got disabled or anything, that's where I'd go.
Work the kitchen.
Yeah. I'd work with that crew because they're fantastic, unbelievable.
And is it always the same thing, or is there some variety?
No, they have other stuff too.
Yeah,
but. The favorite thing the favorite thing is borscht.
That's the headliner.
They put the hot water in, and they're living. They can kill Russians all day on that.
Did you, when you were eating, because you were there for 2 weeks, right?
2.5 weeks.
2.5 weeks.
Yeah.
When you were eating their food, if you will, did that take any getting used to, or did you just jump right in?
I had a prior trip, but the last trip was 2.5 weeks. So
did you have to? Was that a great departure from the diet that you're used to?
No, I mean, I grew up on Sundays in my Polish grandmother's kitchen with everyone speaking Polish. The kids didn't, they didn't really. They were all Americanized, and so that wasn't a priority for them to teach the grandkids Polish. But eating the same basic stuff, So it for me, it's like being in my grandmother's again.
Very neat. Very neat. I got to get the last break in. Stand by, John. Okay. We'll be right back, and we have until Kilmeade. It's 49 minutes past the hour. Hurley in the Morning continues.
Starting your day the right way with Hurley in the Morning.
We need to just listen to the facts.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5. WPGG Atlantic City. WENJ HD3 Millville. A Town Square media station.
Hey, it's Jesse Kelly. Are you still on the fence about owning gold? It's time to pull the trigger with the Oxford Gold Group and buy gold and silver. Nobody can predict the future, but we can't put our head in the sand either. The Oxford Gold Group are the pros. They make owning gold and silver simple and easy to understand. Call Oxford Gold Group right now and you may qualify for up to $10,000 in free precious metals. Call 833-995-GOLD. That's 833-995-GOLD.
Fraudulent tax returns due to identity theft increased by 30% in 2023. If you're in a bind this tax season, LifeLock can help. Their U.S.-based restoration specialists are dedicated to helping solve identity theft issues, and all plans are backed by the $1 Million Protection Package. Which means if you lose money because of identity theft, LifeLock will reimburse you up to the limits of your plan. Help protect your information with LifeLock. Go to LifeLock.com and save up to 25% your first year with my name, Clay, as your promo code.
You're listening to Hurley in the Morning.
I'm from Margate. EHT. Galloway. Mays Landing.
Listen at home or in the office on your smart speaker. Just say, play WPG.
We continue 12 minutes until Brian Kilmeade, 54 minutes past the hour. John?
Yes, Harry. There's a delay in the U.S. funding. That's going to happen. No question about it. In fact, Mike Johnson,
but it has gone on longer than it should have.
3 months longer than it should have. And as I said to a number of congressmen and Mike Johnson's defense advisor, and he gave me a lot of time. I mean, we talked for 20 minutes, and he wrote the whole time. I mean, because I never realized it, but they just don't get guys that are on the ground talking to them.
It's valuable.
They talk
very
to
valuable.
Commanders or, attachés or whatever, but I could give them real hard detail of what goes on the ground, what's needed, what's not needed, and what the effect of this delay is. And the effect of this delay, I said, ultimately you guys are going to do the right thing. Europe's stepping up well and so forth. But in the meantime...
You just said that. Is that a fact, though? Europe is stepping up well?
Yeah, they are.
That's good.
They are.
I didn't think they were.
No, they understand.
Good.
When
they should understand.
When they start...
Because it's coming to them next.
Yeah, when it starts dawning on them that there's a real big
that's your buffer
problem
right there.
Here. Then when it starts dawning on them that there's a really big problem here, then they have... they realize, like, hey, our kids are going to be fighting, or they're going to, the Russians are going to be pushing in our territory soon. They've been really stepping up.
I give a lot of credit. I mean, and they really have known from second one. Poland knows how important this is.
Yeah.
Because they're next.
Yeah. Now, Poland, they're spending the guideline is 2% for NATO countries on defense. 2% of GDP. They're spending 6 and planning on 8. I mean,
they realize
they're building tank factories and aircraft factories and stuff. They're really, really pushing.
They're in it like their survival depends on it,
and they're talking tough too.
And it does,
they're saying, look.
Were they ever able to help with that plan that planes could come to Poland and then they go from Poland into Ukraine? Did any of that aerial stuff ever come to fruition?
Well, I think there are F-16s there now. That's my feeling.
Not announced, but there.
Yeah, I think they're there now. The pilots are trained, and I think before long they're going to be F-16s flying in combat.
Well, I'll tell you, if well, I'm not going to say if now. I'm going to trust that when Ukraine has aerial action in this, that's the only thing really that Russia has on them.
Yeah. The only thing, the thing I want to say also is, Ukraine's going to win the war. The Russians really have nothing. They're great propaganda. We're going to 40% war footing.
Yeah.
40%. 40% of what? 40%. Russia's economy is the same as Spain's. Can you imagine? So 40% of Spain's economy is going on a war footing, which is nothing, really.
Which is why they say a percentage.
Yeah. And the people, they have a population. Poland's GDP is 1/3 Russia. So you get 3 Polands and you got Russia's GDP. And Poland, believe me, is tight. They're not corrupt. They work hard. They're very committed. And they're building stuff like crazy. Their army, they're very brave. It's like Ukraine. So the GDP for NATO is 22 times greater than Russia. And yet Russia's great at the propaganda. We're big and and Poland, Ukraine doesn't have a chance. Yeah, they have. They're going to win the war. And but from my standpoint, Mark and I are just trying to keep people from getting killed or dying of disease or dying from lack of heat or medication or things like that. Like we're delivering.
It's beautiful.
I think I just showed you some photos of Mark delivering a full load. We have a big van now.
You did.
A full load to a maternity center and an incubator that's in service right now that will probably save kids' lives. Because,
I mean, you know this. It's why you're doing it. These are things that if you weren't doing this, I mean, the need, it would have to be filled by someone else or it wouldn't be filled at all.
And it doesn't some of the stuff doesn't get filled. There are people, we don't fill 100% of the need. We fulfill a lot of the need, but it's done in a haphazard way. It's done by Mark being in Kharkiv and
hearing about something,
loading up, and the priest who's a friend of ours in Zaporizhia, he's got a big school, and he's like a refugee center from people coming out of occupied territories. And there's a bunch of one thing we did. There's a bunch of kids, mothers with kids who live right around the school in Zaporizhia. So and these kids have nothing. They go to the school and they stay in the shelter when there are air raids, but they're living in a war zone all the time. So there's a camp far out that the priest knows about. He's not a priest.
I know, I just love it.
And a bunch of people got organized and they needed everything was taken care of to give these kids a week in the country, basically.
Wow.
And to be kids, to play and,
stuff they haven't been
swings
able to do.
and all that stuff. So they needed a bus. They needed so much money. I don't know, $1,000 for a bus or something like that, whatever it was. And we raised the money to do that. So if you want to help with stuff like that, UkraineHumanitarian.org. UkraineHumanitarian.org. Harry just gave me $500, which it brings tears in my eyes every time he does this, but he's so generous, and so many other people are so generous. But there's so many people. I want everybody to have the joy of contributing and not just seeing the suffering on television, but saying to themselves, I did something about this.
Well, this is what I love about it, John, because there's a lot of things where you don't know, are you really helping? You can't qualify or quantify it. Here we know.
Oh, we know.
When you needed drones or you needed the van or stoves or generators, I mean, we directly know that if we step up and help, that this is what it's going to do.
Sure.
It's really great.
Sure. Yeah. Now, the drones, that's sort of borderline charity or not charity. If, people give to the charity, Ukraine Humanitarian Inc., and you just click on the app and you can pay, you can donate by credit card or debit card, or you could just send a check also to my office, and the information is on there. Ukraine Humanitarian Inc., care of John Zarek, 1555 Zion Road, Northfield.
Yeah, by the way, I would contend, you're not asking to debate the point, but I feel like I want to say this. The drones are totally defendable because that gives you the ability to not have to send people into a certain area that can be killed, and you can get actionable intelligence and see exactly what's going on. I thought that was strategic.
It's a defensive thing.
Yes,
it's we raise a lot of money for drones and send a lot of drones over. We have partners around the United States that do that. Ukrainian refugees.
Do Russians shoot down the drones?
Sure, everybody shoots down everything. But one drone, which costs maybe $1,500. We buy them used because I have a partner in North Carolina. She's absolutely an expert.
She get them like reconditioned, right?
She gets them beat up. She buys them off the internet. Broken wings, broken this, broken that,
and then fixes
we
them.
get them over to Ukraine to a particular brigade commander. And they have a workshop with barrels of every part that you have. So if we get the drone there, they put on a new wing, a new this, a new that, maybe attach night vision or something. And so the primary use of the drone is to prevent casualties from scouting.
Yeah.
Because
it's perfect.
And so we do a lot of that.
Yeah, scouting's very dangerous.
But that typically is people making a separate donation for that purpose. But if you Google Ukraine Humanitarian Inc. or UkraineHumanitarian.org and you make a donate, look at the website, look at the pictures and the videos, you'll see what we do, and you make a donation, that money will save lives.
Final minute.
That's going to food and clothing and medicine, generators, incubators. Another thing we do a lot of, we deliver, it's heartbreaking, pediatric wheelchairs in abundance.
Oh, that's horrible.
Needed in abundance in Ukraine because the Russians, they're indiscriminate. They hit schools, they hit high-rise residential buildings. They kill kids in playgrounds.
And the ones that aren't killed, you're talking about kids losing limbs and things, right?
Yeah. So lots of demand for that, and we deliver a lot of that stuff. So it's the best thing you can do. And I'll tell you, if you go to UkraineHumanitarian.org, click on it, make a donation, or send a check to my office, you'll be able to see. We'll put pictures on. You'll be able to see the fruits of your donation.
I mean, I just think it's beautiful when you think about people are eating, people have heat. I mean, all these different things that this accomplishes.
Yeah.
It's just
my brother Mark is over there. He gets shot at all the time. I mean, artillery, rockets, all this stuff, and he's doing it. So you don't have to go there, but please, please make a donation so we can keep him supplied.
Keep up the good work, John.
Thank you.
You're welcome. John Zarek of the law offices of John Zarek. Brian Kilmeade is here. I'll see you on the digital platform, WPG Talk Radio 95.